Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Wiki Weekdays podcast. I'm your host for this week, Lucas Holland, and as always, I am joined by the lovely Karl Smallwood.
Hello.
And today, Karl, it is the last podcast of the year for us because the next week's podcast would be Christmas, and guess what? We're taking Christmas Day off, everyone.
Yeah, spoilers, I'm not working Christmas Day. We don't live in America.
Oh dear, but you know, considering this is the last Christmas podcast, it's the last podcast of the year. Of course, we usually
do the last podcast then. Surprise, Karl.
Surprise.
Delete channel.
Wiki Weekends is done, but no, it's not. Of course,
the experiment is finished.
This channel is not over, but for this 1 week, Pet of the Week kind of is because A, it's the end of the year, and fuck you, it's our podcast. But B, also, people need to just step it up and post a little bit more because most of the posts were from Karl just posting possums.
Do you know what? Wait till after Christmas when everyone's got like a new pet.
Oh, God, but, you know, not new pets, but pets that we do adore on this podcast are, of course, my pets, Cade and Oryx, who are the sausage dogs of the week, as you can see just below for all those video viewers.
The old sausage duo. Old Smoke and Ornstein in the corner there.
And I've got the names actually flipped by accident. Oh, well, you know, for people watching, Cade is the one in the red jumper on the right, but the name's on the left, and Oryx is the one in the green jumper on the left. And they're both in their Christmas attire, so for any of you audio listeners, just click on the video version, give it a like, just for the nice, cute, Christmassy picture of them.
Yes, and as well, with having two dogs, do you ever feel like they are like Dark Souls-style bosses that work in tandem? Like one's the tank, one's like the aggro?
Well, Cade's
one's the aggro, one's the DPS.
I'll say that much. It's like, it does feel like that sometimes, because sometimes like they'll both be in the crate and the doorbell will go, and it's always Cade that gets kicked off by the doorbell, and Oryx is like chill on his own when Cade's out on a walk or something, or he's at like doggy daycare and things like that. If the door goes, Oryx is like, oh, yeah, the door went. But then when Cade kicks off, Oryx is like, what the fuck are we doing? Let's fuck him up. Let's go.
Like, it reminds me, maybe like the guys from Army of Two, where one's like the damage dealer and the other one draws the aggro.
Mm-hmm.
Which is such a terrible game. I don't know why that's the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah, that was a really weird example, but that's such a good gimmick for a co-op game that just was hampered by the actual game itself, right?
Do you know the problem with that game? It's that Army of Two, people don't know, was a video game, and it was specifically made to be co-op from start to finish, and you play as one of two characters whose names escape me, because they're so forgettable. They literally wear masks the entire time.
Pretty sure they were called Kane and Lynch, right? Oh no, that was a different terrible co-op game.
Yeah, and the gimmick, as they explained it in the advertising and copy and marketing materials is that your relationship as the two characters will build throughout the game, and when you get to the final part of the game, like, depending on how good your relationship is, will depend on the ending. It turns out that, like, the relationship meter reset between missions. So no matter how negatively or poorly you interacted in the lead up to the final mission, didn't matter. And you could actually get the good ending or the bad ending just by spamming the positive or negative emote 5 times before you went through the door to the final cutscene. Which means that you could play perfectly the entire time, complement each other, because that's the thing you did after every gunfight. You got to select positive or negative.
Mm-hmm.
And if you went through the entire game and kept consistently picked positive all the way through, your relationship would be in tatters by just slapping on the back of the head 5 times before you walked into the final boss. And it's, what a great idea, hampered by shit-ass execution.
To be fair though, Karl, if we got through all of this year on Wiki Weekends, and then just before this one podcast, right at the end of the year, just before we got the good ending, if I just started punching you in the back of the head 5 times...
Not even that, just like Joe the oh, stop it, you idiot.
Yeah.
Not even aggressive, like... Alternately, you could have the shit relationship where you've not saved your teammate every single time you get the opportunity to save them. Mm-hmm. And they've had to, like, get through a double firefight on their own every single time. Mm-hmm. Shake their hand 5 times, by the end, they're always forgiven. It's like The Sims, right? Where you can just, if you shake someone's hand 15 times, they'll sleep with you.
That's how it works in real life, right?
Yeah, just keep shaking the hand and eventually you can marry them.
You can shake something else. Oh, but another gimmick that we do normally, and will be a little bit altered this week, as we mentioned last week, which is a bit, it's a day later for us, but podcast viewers will have seen them a week apart.
In podcast land, yes.
Yeah, everyone listening will know, hopefully, that if you listened last week, we are doing a Which Wiki won this year for this episode, Karl.
Yes, so broadly what we like to do on each podcast is get our audience to decide over on our Discord which of the wikis covered in the previous week's episode inspired the best discussion. But because we're recording these ahead of time, due to it being Christmas, we decided to go for a different gimmick for the final episode of the year and ask our audience instead which wikis won this year. So who of myself and you, Lucas, brought the most interesting discussions forward in the entirety of 2024. And you have the results in front of you now. So drum roll, who's the winner?
Well, I actually have the image ready to press, to appear on screen right now for everyone watching the video. So, fake little drum roll. Oh, well, Karl.
Yes?
We both won?
You know what, I'm going to say, because it's Christmas, we didn't both lose, we both won. It's a draw, right?
It was a draw, as people can see on the screen right now. And for
not doctored
audio listeners, we got 54 votes from 54 users, and it was a 27 to 27 split.
And keep in mind, all myself and Lucas voted for each other.
We did, yes. Normally we don't vote for...
If you'd have voted for yourself, you'd have won.
That's the thing. Even if I didn't vote for you, because you voted for me first, and I was like,
yes.
I could just leave it. I could get myself one extra vote for this year.
We voted for each other, sorry. Yeah.
That would have been the tiebreaker, but I was like, you know what, I'll vote for you. And we'll start the poll out with a vote each, and we ended with the exact same result.
And you know
50-50.
Yep. I'm fine with that. We had ideas for there's going to be forfeits, costumes were discussed. There's all that stuff. So instead, we don't have to do anything. So what a lovely Christmas present to us both. We don't have to go through the rigmarole and ball ache of doing a stupid bonus video for our fans. So cheers.
Yeah, that's our Christmas present from the front, right?
Less work.
You just have to do a little bit less work and go enjoy your time off for Christmas.
I'm down with that. I like that when we're both equally good as well. What a nice feeling.
Exactly, yeah. It would have been devastating, right, if someone got 95% of the votes.
That would cause an army of two style rift at the last minute, wouldn't it?
We'd have had to do 5 handshakes to just make sure that we felt better.
Yeah, before we go into the final podcast. Otherwise, it's just going to end with us having a fist fight. Because I think in Army of Two, if you get the bad ending, it's just they shoot each other and die. It's like, yes.
Yeah, because there's the video game A Way Out, which the creator Joseph Fares should by now have revealed gameplay for his newer game. But A Way Out was that two of you are doing Prison Break.
That's a really fun game as well.
It's a fun game. I do think there's definite flaws, but it's really solid, 8 out of 10 co-op video game. And it had a lot of mini games in.
Yeah, and
which I enjoyed.
One of the best videos on the internet is when the best friends were still going. They played it, and the gimmick one of the people in it does is in every video game they get 1-0 up and then press the leave button. So they're playing Pong, they get a single point in Pong and immediately leave. Which I know, if we ever played that on the gaming channel we're hoping to launch in 2025, you do that shit.
Mm-hmm.
You'd get 1 point up and leave. Wins a win. Dominic Toretto.
But yeah, I find it fun in that ending because, I played it through with a partner and we enjoyed it and it got to the end and it's spoilers for A Way Out from 2018, I guess. There's multiple endings in it anyway, but basically... Yep. The potential endings are you either stick together or betray one another, and that ends in either you getting away, I believe, or having a fight, which is what we ended up doing. And
the best bit is that every time I watch someone play through that game or played through it with somebody, you get to the end and you immediately just turn turncoat. You turn into a huge big snitch second one, don't you? Because you want to win.
Yeah, and you just immediately no hesitation, no surrender, just shoot the other person
right in the back of the head. Let's go.
But yeah, it's very enjoyable, and I do recommend that for a pretty short-ish fun co-op experience.
You get through it in an afternoon, over the Christmas period, if you happen to spot it on sale or. Presumably it's been a PlayStation Plus game at some point. Mm-hmm. It'd be a fun afternoon with a cousin visiting over Christmas or something like that.
It's not like It Takes Two where I've heard people have actually ended their actual relationship over the fake divorce in that game.
Yeah, because it's too raw.
Yeah.
It brings up too many real-world emotions.
Yeah, that's it seemingly want to play with a friend and not a partner.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think we've got much else housekeeping other than, go check out our Patreon to see our Patreon goals that are, at this point, for next year, including, guests on the podcast, gaming channel, other bits and pieces that you can see over on that link found in the description.
Yes.
But I don't think we've got anything else to discuss, really, do we, Karl?
So we can get right into it. So I've brought a good wiki for this week.
Well, what wiki have you brought this week, Karl?
Well, I brought a wiki on Santa Claus. Not the character, not any specific fictional portrayal of the character, but specifically the Wikipedia entry on Santa Claus in film. Because this wiki entry includes a brief overview of Santa's history in film, but contains also the types of Santa films that exist. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sections. And each of them deals with a different subgenre within the already subgenre of Christmas movies that specifically focus on Santa. Before we get to that, do you have a favourite Christmas movie that involves Santa? Folks at home, obviously, same question. All right, have the discussion in our Discord.
That's a difficult one, because there's some that I like that do have Santa in them. Like for example, Elf. But that's your Santa's not movie, right? A great big part of that movie. I'd say one that leans more into the Santa gimmick that I really like is the Santa Claus.
That's the Tim Allen one, yes?
Yes, yeah.
I think there's just one scene in that always makes me giggle, and it's when he's dropping the presents off and he pulls the canoe out of the bag. I remember that scene being really iconic. So, how does Santa fit every present in the world into a single bag? And it shows he's just got the extra dimensional bag. I've always just thought that was a really neat visual. And that is something that Santa media sometimes seeks to address. Of how does Santa, for example, travel the world in a single night? How does he keep all the presents in a single bag? But before we get to that, Lucas, motion pictures featuring Santa Claus constitute their own subgenre of the Christmas film genre. Early films of Santa revolve around fairly simple plots of Santa's Christmas Eve visit to children. The earliest known film, specifically featuring this trope, stems back from 1897.
Ooh,
so
really?
Over a century old.
Wow, okay.
And this was a very simple, short film, very aptly titled Santa Claus Fills Stockings. Santa Claus is simply filling stockings from his pack of toys. In another film, released in 1898, they also have one where it's called Santa Claus and the Children, which is, similar. It's just Santa Claus meeting with some children on Christmas Day. Very simple, short story. A year later, a film directed by George Albert Smith, titled simply Santa Claus, or, in some territories, The Visit from Santa Claus, was created. In this picture, Santa Claus enters the room from the fireplace and proceeds to trim the tree. He then fills the stockings that were previously hung on the mantle by the children. After walking backwards and surveying his work, he suddenly darts at the fireplace and disappears up the chimney. And Lucas, when you were younger, what was the explanation for how Santa got into your house used by your parents? Because that's one of the things that a lot of Santa media or films involving Santa like to address of how does Santa get into your house? And then the asshole kid thing when they try to trick you in asking you a question they don't think you can answer. Santa comes down the chimney. What about if you live in a house without a chimney? So the excuse of my parents was, we can also come through the keyhole.
One that was another good explanation in the Santa Claus, where it's you see the tiny little tube and he just shrinks down to the size of the tube, or there's one without a chimney and a chimney just magically appears for him to go through.
Okay.
But yeah, we actually had a chimney in our house, so we didn't really question it very much because it was just it was already told to us. Well, Santa goes down the chimney. It's cool, we've got a chimney.
Yeah, we had a chimney, but the chimney wasn't really that. You could see it was blocked off at the top. We still have a fire, but it wasn't a roaring fireplace like you see in a traditional Christmas movie. Yeah. So the excuse was you can come through the keyhole. But I do like the story my mum told when she was much younger, and she lived in a great big farmhouse that had a really old style chimney. And what they used to do, and this sounds I think if this was still a thing, or it happened to me, I would instantly believe in Santa. And it was, you write your letter to Santa and you put it in the chimney. And the way old style fireplaces were constructed to be circulation of air in there, So, to obviously wick away the soot and the smoke.
Mm-hmm.
So if you put it into an unlit chimney, the letter will be to fly up the chimney. And if I was a little kid and that happened to me, I'd fucking believe in magic straight away, right? If your letter to Santa flew up the chimney and your parents told you that's Santa taking it.
That's clever, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Was there any things like that happened to you when you were younger? So the classic is, right, the glass of milk. Glass of milk and the mince pie.
Milk and milk and gingerbread man or milk and mince pie or something like that with a little carrot that would get like a little bit broken off, and
for Rudolph,
like Rudolph only ate a little bit of each carrot because obviously Rudolph would get a bit fat otherwise, right? If Rudolph ate every full carrot from every single house.
Yeah, and then sometimes in our house we leave like a little whiskey out for Santa.
Yeah,
it's a bit cold, it's a bit nippy.
Suspiciously, Santa seemed to become a little bit more drunk every single year.
Yeah.
Just
as like, for some reason, he like the whiskey that my dad likes.
Went from like a Bailey's to like a brandy to like a double brandy. But clearly Santa was getting a bit older and a bit, just happier to get a DUI, I suppose.
Yeah, we also as well would like leave a cigar out for Santa that he mysteriously starts smoking when my dad stopped smoking.
Well, yeah, because Santa decided to, come together with a bunch of other people and help everyone else out who's not smoking. Yeah, if he was smoking in your household, that might encourage your dad to smoke again.
Exactly, yeah. He was a really nice guy. And is there any other Santa-specific traditions from your childhood that you recall? Because the story one my mum told me of just putting the letter up the chimney sounds like that's such a genius way to get kids to believe. Right?
Yeah, no, we'd always write a letter to Santa, and my very, specific mindset as a kid would be like, right, okay, so it wouldn't be like, dear Santa, I want this. It'd be like, dear Santa, I hope I've been a good boy this year. Like, here's what I'd like for Christmas. And it'd be like, so what I've done is I've gone to the Argos catalogue and I've highlighted the page, the description, the item number. Like, here's what game I would like, but it'd be like, it's this video game, here's the full title, it's on this console, it looks like this. If you need a picture, I can find one in a magazine and cut it out for you, yeah.
Yeah.
And I wasn't trying to be an asshole kid, it was just sometimes, I knew that Santa, has had difficulties, sometimes finding, the game that I definitely wanted.
Maybe
it's
console.
He wanted a Mickey Mouse game, but it was not a Mickey Mouse game that maybe I already had, and Santa didn't realise that. But it just then got me to the point where I was like, I'm going to be the most specific I can possibly be.
You know what? Just you're helping Santa out.
Yeah. It wasn't that I would ever be annoyed if I didn't get those things from if I didn't get those things from Santa for Christmas. I was never annoyed. But it was just that I was a kid who had a couple of things that they wanted and knew exactly what they were.
Yeah.
Very specific about
as long as you're a good boy, Santa will try his best to get it for you.
Yeah.
And we'll move on now, because the intro to this just goes through the history of Santa in film, and it goes all the way from the late 19th century all the way up to the modern day. Yeah. But we have here the separate specific subgenres within the already niche subgenre of Christmas movies involving Santa. And the first deal with Santa's origins. So some films about Santa Claus seek to explore his origins or the origins of his particular powers. This is how they explain, for example, his reindeer can fly, where the elves come from, and other questions that children generally ask about Santa.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have any examples like that spring to mind before I go on to the one?
Maybe, I already mentioned, I think it was maybe last week's podcast, where in Elf, they show that, nowadays, Santa, not many people believe in Santa, so we have to have, a fucking, actual jet engine
onto the plane to get the thing off the ground, right?
In the sleigh, because it used to be powered by magic and belief, but then nowadays, not many people believe in Santa very wrongly, and we have to use a fucking actual jet engine and know the mechanics. But
and that's where you get the great ending to that film, isn't it? Yeah. Where he's going to take off, and it's we need everybody. They start singing Christmas carols, right?
Mm-hmm. And that the jet engine breaks, and then they need people to like start believing in Santa again.
Yeah, and that reignites the love of Christmas, the magic of Christmas in their hearts, which allows Santa to have his powers. Addressed somewhat in the show Fairly Odd Parents, where, like, you know, the plot of that show is like the kid has two magical fairy godparents. And they say that Santa is a very powerful fairy. And every year, because he has to visit every child in the world, all the fairies give their magic to Santa, so he can grant everyone's wishes at once.
And I've also mentioned before Arthur Christmas. I quite like that one where they have the big, giant, like, spaceship-looking Santa base that the new Santa's brought in. Like, oh, look at me, technology's going to fix everything. And then eventually the kind of plot of the movie is that there's all this technology, but they miss one child out. And Arthur has to he has to get the old retired Santa and the old retired Santa sleigh and the reindeer out and travel across the world in the old school sleigh to, like, save the day for this little girl.
Santa's got to kick it old school. I will say, though, one of, like, I know you like Elf, and Elf is a very good film. I like it as a Christmas movie. I like its message. My one issue with that film is that Buddy lives in the North Pole with the single greatest collection of artisans and craftsmen in existence. These immortal elves who can construct a fucking iPod out of magic. They don't even get him a bed that fits. At the very least, they could have made him a bed that is in his size, right?
They could have built him a little house that actually fits him, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it is to kind of show that, oh, well, you know, Santa and Buddy's dad, they were on board with the idea, but maybe it was a little subtle hint that all the other elves actually don't fucking hate him. Yeah.
It's just as well, it's like, he's going to have such bad back problems, right?
He is. Sitting in that tiny little, like, you know, chair when they're doing, like, the lessons at school, and they're all, like, you know, fit in the desk, and he's there, like, trying to squeeze in something. Man, that'd be uncomfortable.
It would, but there's various, like, pieces of media that, you know, explain away Santa's, like, fantastical capabilities. One is, let's have a look here. There is Santa Claus is Coming to Town with Mickey Rooney as voice of Kris Kringle, which reveals how Santa delivers toys to children, despite the fact that the Eagle Burgermeister, Mr. Burger, had forbidden children to play with them.
So that's like, how many racist characters does Mickey Rooney play in that one?
I don't know. Never forget that the New York Times described Mr. Yunoshi, which is Mickey Rooney with buck teeth and glasses, doing a mock Asian accent, as a colourful caricature of an Oriental man.
Yeah.
The second movie, The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus, based on the L. Frank Baum's 1902 children's book of the same name, follows Santa being reared by a collection of mythical creatures. These creatures grant Santa his immortality, explaining how he's lived for so many centuries. That's another thing, like they say, like, Santa's magical. They don't often delve into his exact origins. It's just he's got magic powers. And his magic is like what fuels like his sleigh. It's what allows his reindeer to fly. And as like explored in Elf and other similar Christmas movies, that magic is derived from people's belief in him.
The one question I always had about the Santa Claus, and I don't think that they directly address it in the film, but just what happens to the last Mrs. Claus.
Yeah.
I
think she retires.
She
goes
finds
to a club.
out her husband's just died and gets fucking fired herself and ousted from the North Pole.
Like, Santa as a mantle's interesting.
Yes, yeah.
Which is also a subgenre.
Either that, or it's, sorry, Mrs. Claus, you've got a new husband today.
Yep.
And either way, I'm just like, this can't be a good setup, but he does end up with his ex-wife as Mrs. Claus.
Because they tell him that you need a Mrs. Claus, right?
So they get back together and then she becomes the new Mrs. Claus. But it's like, what happened to the old Mrs. Claus?
We don't know. And you know what? That's an uncomfortable question, so let's move on. This book, the book I mentioned earlier, The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus, is the basis of animated versions, which is also, those animated versions based on that book, served as the basis for the anime series Shonen Santa no Daiboken, Young Santa Adventures.
I did not know that was the thing.
Which do not delve into his origins, and I did not know there was a Christmas Santa anime, but of course there fucking is, right?
I didn't know there was a shonen anime specifically.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
But,
how many times does Santa go Super Saiyan?
Quite a few. Just when he's fueled by Christmas magic. And then we have the next subgenre of Santa films, and this is like my personal favourite genre of Christmas film. I like, type of Christmas film, and it is ones that deal with questioning and believing in Santa. And that is the basis of my favourite Christmas movie, Miracle on 34th Street. Miracle on 34th Street, specifically the Richard Attenborough version. I know there's an original version from like the 30s or 40s in black and white. I much prefer the Richard Attenborough version. And when I think Santa, I think Richard Attenborough in the Santa costume. And people don't know, that's a film about a man who looks like Santa, and because he looks like Santa, he took it upon himself to just help children believe in Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a kindly old man who wants people to believe in Christmas.
And
he's
he
not necessarily
sued
Santa
for it
but,
or something, right?
Yes. In the Richard Attenborough version, it's that he becomes a mall Christmas Santa.
Right. Okay.
A department store Christmas Santa, sorry. And he's very, very good. So good, in fact, that a rival department store wants to poach him.
Right. Yeah,
And he also has,
I've
like, a
watched
really
that movie one time, but I wasn't the biggest fan of Miracle on 34th Street.
Yeah, it's one that I really like, and there's a really great moment in it. And it's the part where it's like, even if the guy in that movie is not Santa, he embodies the spirit of what Santa represents, where a little deaf girl comes in. You've probably seen this trope a dozen times, where a deaf girl comes in and the mum says to Santa, like Richard Attenborough dressed as Santa, it's like, oh, she can't hear you. She just wanted to see you. And he speaks in sign language to a little girl. And just like the look of elation on the little girl's face, it's like, that's what Christmas is about. That's what Santa represents.
Yeah, and I think I should probably rewatch that movie or something, because I watched it when I was maybe not a child, but maybe like child to young teen kind of thing. And
watch it now you're a bit older. It's got it's a bit saccharine, but it's a very sweet message.
I think it was one of those movies that just my parents put on and was like, oh, Miracle on 34th Street is great, not thinking we're trying to make like teenagers and kids watch this. Like, it's not really that audience necessarily. It's a bit like more slow paced and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we were all in on Jingle All the Way and the Santa Claus and stuff,
which are a bit more elevated and wacky, right? But we have here, like, no, another genre of Santa Claus film seeks to dispel doubts about his existence. One of the earliest films that had this as its primary thrust of the narrative, at least, is aptly titled The Little Girl Who Do Not Believe in Santa Claus, released in 1907, and involves a well-to-do boy trying to convince his poorer friends that Santa Claus is real. The girl doubts this because Santa has never visited her home because of her poverty. And that is like an uncomfortable question raised in like a lot of Santa media, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's what happens like to poorer kids or poorer nations, and also what happens to like places that predominantly don't believe in Christmas necessarily.
Yeah,
like,
and it's that's something like there's the song. What's it called? It's the Live Aid one. Like, do they know it's Christmas?
Do they know it's Christmas time at all? Yeah. Which
delves
is
into
a
that.
Little bit patronising at times when you actually think about it, but yeah.
It is, and it's also as well wildly misunderstood by like Gen Z, who every year get more and more irate about the lyric of just be thankful it's you instead of, or be thankful it's them instead of you. And they read it literally as, oh, you're making fun of people in poor countries. Like, no, it's to remind you of the privilege you have, and that there are people out there who don't have what you do. So you should share. So you should give to the charity.
Again,
it does come across a little bit patronising when it's been sung by millionaire celebrities.
It's the same thing as like that song where they all sang the John Lennon song during COVID, right?
Yeah,
imagine
back,
that was it. Yeah,
it's not the best optics, especially given like the current hostility towards the billionaire overlord class. Shall we say?
You know what? Maybe they shouldn't have been bellends for the entire time they existed.
Yeah. It's like there's a really great interview with Bob Geldof about this, where like, they were doing Live Aid 20 or something like that, so they're doing it again. And they had One Direction on. And during the interview, one of the people brings up I think it's a pretty important point of, well, One Direction are in this, and they were recently in the news of they're taking private jets everywhere and destroying the environment with a private jet. Mm-hmm. And you're asking regular people to foot the bill for climate change. Do you think that's a bit hypocritical? And he stood up and stormed out the interview and said, and I quote, just give us your fucking money.
And I get both sides of the argument, right?
You do, yes.
Because, yeah, celebrities should
their time and their influences.
Their money where their mouth is more often, but at the same time, them also using their influence to remind people that they have a privilege and that they should, try and give money to charity and do more to help others is a good message to share, and they should use their influence to do things like that. But there's a lot of those people that do things like that then don't do it themselves.
Yeah, and there's also, as well, like I say, sometimes the optics can't be great. Like you said, all the celebrities singing Imagine.
Yeah.
Of a song that features the line, imagine a world with no possessions, during the pandemic, from their own houses, which are like palatial in nature. And I've always loved that, like, man, the people who are in the back end of that video must be so fucking happy because no one managed to sit through that shit. Yeah. Like, there must be celebrities in the back end of that Imagine video who never got called out on it because no one watched that far.
Because no one got to, like, the 4th minute in the song. Yeah.
How far did you get in? I think I got, like, 20 seconds in before I got pissed off and turned it.
30 seconds before being like, fuck these people.
Yeah. It's like, read the fucking room.
Just as some of them are clearly sitting there in, like, just rooms that are bigger than my entire house. I'm like, absolutely fuck off.
Well, it's like, it's as well, it's a John Lennon song, and John Lennon wasn't, he's not the most savoury of histories. Like, there's the famous sit-in he did in, like, I think it was London or New York hotel with Yoko Ono to protest the living conditions in some third world country, I believe. And they would periodically stand up, so that, like, the maid could come in and make the bed. And they would just stand there and watch the maid and then get back into the bed for their protest. And it's like, just, again, the optics on this are fucking terrible, John.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Miracle on 34th Street, 1947. This stars Natalie Wood as Susan Walker and revolves around the disbelief of young Susan, whose mother employs a kind old man, Edmund Gwen, who won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, to play Santa Claus at Macy's. He later convinces Susan that he really is Santa. And that's like the crux of the film, both the original and the remake, of just, it's the little girl is very cynical, does not believe in Santa, and he eventually convinces her to believe in the magic of Christmas.
Which ultimately is just a, nice sweet tale, yeah.
Now we have here The Polar Express, based on a children's book of the same name, also deals with issues and the questions of belief as a magical train conducted by Tom Hanks transports a doubting boy to the North Pole to visit Santa.
Can we really call that nightmare creature Tom Hanks?
Yeah, I guess like Wikipedia is, and I'm inclined to believe Wikipedia.
It's just, that is really that earlier transitional period where just we didn't have humans nailed yet in like CG animation.
We still kind of don't, but whatever. We move on now because there's only a couple of examples, and I think like Elf deals with that
a little bit, yeah.
It deals like broadly with the idea of people not believing in Santa, right? Like you said, there's that moment where the person's like, well, that can't be you can't be the real Santa. Read me something from that book.
Like, it is very much, the ending of the movie and not the focus of the film.
No, but it does deal with elements of it. But then the next subgenre, Lucas, is Santa as a hero. Some science fiction B-movies feature Santa as a superhero-type figure, such as the 1959 film titled Santa Claus, produced in Mexico, with José Elias Moreno as Santa Claus. In this movie, Santa allies with Merlin the Magician to battle the devil, who's attempting to trap Santa. That sounds fucking awesome.
The classic duo, Santa Claus and Merlin the Magician.
In the Cold War era film, Santa Claus Conquers the Martians in 1964, Santa Claus is captured by the Martians and brought to Mars, and ultimately foils a plot to destroy him. And these, like, super B-movie plots, but I'm all the fucking...
Santa versus the Martians, let's go.
Never forget there was that, like, weird subgenre of Mexican films, like, about Lucha Libre, where they portrayed wrestlers as superheroes. And that's where, like, El Santo, the Saint, he appeared in a bunch of them and fought werewolves and shit.
I mean, what would happen in Mars Attacks if the end of the movie was just Santa came in and kicked the aliens out?
It'd be so good, right? And it's like, I've got to mention that El Santo thing as well, because after that subgenre kind of died, he was still an actor, but he never took his mask off. And they cast him in roles where he wasn't playing a wrestler, and he still wore his mask, and no one comments on it. Like, he plays
got to play it completely straight, but got the luchador mask on, yeah.
That was one movie where he plays a police chief who in every scene is wearing a Lucha Libre mask and they never comment on it, and it's like, it's fucking amazing.
Just never bring it up.
One day we will talk about El Santo. If someone wants to talk about El Santo, let us know down in the comments or the Discord. So I would love to do an episode on El Santo.
That
You know,
sounds
other
great.
films, we have the Night They Saved Christmas, starring Art Carney as Santa. Likewise chronicles how Santa Claus and Claudia Baldwin, the wife of an oil explorer, have to save the North Pole from expansions when Baldwin's husband is searching for oil in Antarctica.
Okay.
Santa is a hero in The Nightmare Before Christmas, held captive by Oogie Boogie, though he is spiteful and enraged at Jack when freed. That's like one of the few films where Santa's not portrayed as, like, you know, entirely jolly.
Yeah, like, he's not necessarily a hero in that. He's the damsel in distress almost. And, just kind of none of them are really played. Like, obviously, Oogie Boogie is the obvious villain, but then even Jack isn't really the good guy. He just kind of solves the problems that he causes.
Yeah, I think, like, you know, this they're playing fast and loose with the descriptors here, but I guess it kind of falls into that trope. Like, similarly, the 2005 film adaptation of the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Father Christmas supplies the Pevensie children with the weapons and tools they need to battle the White Witch. And I forgot that Santa rocks up in that movie.
I was just questioning it then. I was like, wait, Santa Claus is in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe?
He rocks up, doesn't he, and kicks the fuck out of everyone.
I remember Aslan, but yeah, I forgot about Father Christmas.
Like, Lion Jesus and Father Christmas, what an absolute just don.
And Mr. Tumnus, of course.
Yeah, Mr. Tumnus. No, Professor X turns up for a little bit, but I still think my favourite part of The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe is that the shitty little kid sells out his brother, his sister, and all of Narnia.
Fucking Turkish Delight.
The Turkish Delight, which is
the shittest confection ever.
See, Turkish Delight is nice if you get the good stuff. I've had Turkish Delight in Turkey made with, like, fresh rose water. It is delicious, but it's one of those things that you can have a little bit. If they said an entire room full of Turkish Delight, I'd be like, fuck that, that's too much Turkish Delight. But
he gorges on it, right?
He's not the most realistic kid in a movie, though, who just sells out all of existence, a plane of reality for sweets.
For just some shit sweets.
And even Tilda Swinton's like, I can't believe this is working.
Is it that easy, Edward, really?
She tells them as well that he sold you out for candy.
Oh, fucking...
In the
I think it's Edward that sells them out, yeah.
I don't know which of the children it is, but I just know he's the one who looks like a little shit. In the 2012 DreamWorks film Rise of the Guardians, which is based on the book series The Guardians of Childhood by William Joyce, Santa is shown to be one of the main characters and leader of the Guardians who are heroes in the movie. Likewise, in the 2022 film Violent Night... David Harbour portrays a drunk and disillusioned Santa Claus caught up in a hostage situation who becomes an action hero. And that's actually pretty boss. Because, like, you get Santa just with a sledgehammer fucking knocking out criminals.
I'd heard a couple of people in the past say that Violent Night was pretty decent, and then when we recently put out a Die Hard video, there's quite a few comments going, oh, hey, did you know that Violent Night is basically Die Hard but starring Santa?
Yeah, and it's Die Hard and it is Home Alone. And what they do is they deliberately, specifically recreate a lot of those gags from Home Alone and then show you how realistic it is. Like when, like, the bowling ball twats, like, Joe Pesci on the head.
Oh, when he should have died for the fourth time, yeah.
Yeah, they have that happen to a criminal and, like, their entire skull cave's open. It's like, to make it... And it's actually really fun because they have, like, the whimsical, wacky Christmas music and these people getting horribly murdered.
Yeah, I had that on my list of, like, I'd been hearing things... Like, because it kind of came out to not much conversation around it, and then the last
really
couple of years I've heard it kind of picking up steam a little bit, yeah. Yeah,
it's actually pretty decent. I would recommend it as, like... Be warned going in, it does get pretty gnarly, but only towards the end.
I mean, it's called Violent Night.
But there's a lot of, like, those, like we talked about the Krampus movies last week. There's a lot of those that are pitched as uber violent, like Santa monster eating people, and it never delivers. So I will be warned that the violence is... There's not much
quite
of it,
extreme.
but when it does happen, it is some of it is like that, like you see people get it real bad.
Okay.
In the television show South Park, Santa is often depicted with firearms. For example, in the episode Red Sleigh Down, he battles Iraqis to try and bring Christmas to Iraq. And that's such a South Park plot, right?
Yeah, but honestly, it kind of sounds like the shit version of Santa Claus from Futurama.
Yeah, like, he's the best version, right? But he's a villain.
Yeah.
Is that the greatest, like, anti-Santa? It's like South Park wishes it could do a Santa as, like, edgy as that.
I think everyone does, right? Like, Futurama absolutely fucking nailed, like, the evil Santa.
It's more as well. What's the best line from that? And I don't know why it gets me so much. Is when Bender comes down the chimney. It's like, it's Santa. Take your suicide pills. It's like, no. I'm the good Santa. I bring gifts at reasonable prices. It's the specific fact he mentions that he's selling them.
Well, it's better than getting shotgunned by Santa, I suppose.
Yeah.
Shredded by laser weapons.
Oh, it's so that Santa episode is so fucking good. Like South Park would never. South Park would never have that much whimsy and charm.
Like Futurama's Santa does obviously kind of get worse over time, as a lot of Futurama kind of does in my eyes.
Yeah. But those couple episodes that he appears in are fucking fantastic.
Those early ones are great, yeah. It just is the first episode where they introduce Robot Santa is fantastic.
It is genius, yes. But we have here the next subgenre is the succession of Santas. This is a genre of movies that suggests that Santa Claus is not historically a single individual, but a succession of individuals, and that Santa is in fact a mantle that is passed down. And that's the Santa Claus, right? Where Tim Allen kills Santa, which they never really highlight the fact you can kill Santa.
Yeah, right. Like, a lot of other things are, oh no, Santa's like this immortal being that is, always there. And then in Santa Claus, it's like, oh, Santa fell off a roof, he's fucking dead, and you're Santa now.
Here's the thing as well, though, right? It's like Tim Allen better fucking hope that information doesn't become public knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? Because if people find out that there is a person that if you kill, you get magic powers, live forever, and get to go live in the North Pole where you can't be extradited for any crimes, and you only have to work 1 day a year. Every motherfucker on Earth will be gunning for Santa.
Yeah.
Which as well, it's not like he can hide, because once per year he is magically bound to come to your house. It would be that Futurama stuff we were waiting with shotguns at the chimney, right?
It would be. That's I guess why they put it in such small print. But I really like the like legal clause being the Santa Claus, and just they get the magnifying glass out. It's like, oh, you didn't read the fine print. It's like, if you murder Santa Claus and put on the pants, whoever puts on the pants now becomes Santa.
It's like, the Santa Claus pants are like Mjolnir, right? You get all the power, but instead of like you have to kill Thor and be worth it, it's just you have to knock a guy off your roof once a year. And it's fine, because once you've done that, you become immortal, can't die, and gain access to unlimited magical potential.
It's not that big a deal, because he comes back and Bernard's like, oh, hey, you're the new Santa now.
Yeah.
Let's get on with it.
How often does that happen? And I do like the detail of, like, he goes from looking like regular Tim Allen, like the classic image you have of Tim Allen in your head of, like, selling out people on a cocaine charge and going to prison, to Santa. Never forget that Tim Allen did that. Tim Allen fucking snitched, and he snitched so hard.
Wait, what did he do?
He was caught on a drugs charge and sold out fucking everybody.
Oh no, snitches get stitches, Tim.
He was a huge, big, bitchy snitch.
Oh,
and
no.
now Tim Allen is one of those like anti-woke crusaders who bitches on and on about how like real men. He even made a TV show called Last Man Down about how men aren't men anymore. It's like, well, you fucking snitched. One of the most like the tenets of masculinity is being stoic and not selling out your bros. You did it second one. Martha Stewart didn't snitch.
Being a man of your fucking word, and it's like, no, his word will go straight to the cops.
Like Martha Stewart didn't snitch. Never forget that. She went to prison for tax fraud. She was on it. There's also a 2001 television special called Call Me Claus, starring Whoopi Goldberg, an African-American woman destined to reluctantly become the next Santa Claus. And I bet right when people lost their fucking... They get so mad at the idea of Black Santa. It's like, he's not real.
Carl,
he's got magic powers. You draw the line at him being black.
Fuck did you just say, Carl?
What's that?
I'm not happy with this, Carl.
What was it?
You know what you did.
What did I do?
Santa's real, Carl, and I'll hear nothing about this.
I'm sorry. I was confused for a second there.
It reminds me, I was rewatching some of the Office, like skipping through some of it, and just like there's an episode where Daryl comes up to Michael and he's like, hey, I'd like to wear the hat. He's like, no, you can't wear the hat. And he's like, why not, Michael?
Yep.
He's like sheepishly like, you know why? And just kind of backs away and is like, no.
Say it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Say it out loud. Like, he's got magic powers.
But yeah, then there's obviously the other one where like Michael kicks up fuss because or Phyllis wants to be Santa, and it's like, well, woman can't be Santa either, and Michael's just the most gatekeepy arsehole about it, right?
It's the thing, if anyone can be Santa, as long as they embody the traditional spirit of what it means to be Santa. They're happy, they're jolly, and they want to just genuinely bring joy and happiness to the lives of children.
And ultimately, in that case, Michael is just a selfish egomaniac that always wants himself to be Santa, so he can
because
feel
he wants to be the
special.
centre of attention.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, well, have we got any more of like Santa being a mantle? Mantle.
The 2011 animated film Arthur Christmas portrays Santa Claus as a dynasty. The first Santa, St. Nicholas, established the North Pole Workshop and passed down the title and responsibility to his sons. And after 70 Christmases, that's where you have like the main character of Arthur Christmas. They don't want to become Santa.
No, they do. They super do.
Oh, okay.
It's that his brother's definitely going to get given it because he's like the favourite brother. And then Arthur's like the small wimpy one that's like, you know, never going to be able to get it. And then it's like, oh no, he actually embodies the spirit of Christmas. He cares about it, whereas brothers just cares about like delivering presents on time.
Yeah. He wants to be, you embody like the mechanics of Christmas, but you don't embody the spirit.
Yeah,
you don't have what it takes to be a real Santa.
When the one Christmas present gets missed, he's like, oh, well, that's just, that's still an efficiency rating of like 99.9999%. You know, if one present goes missing, then that's still a jobs are done. And it's like, then Arthur, again, embodies the spirit of Santa Claus and is like, no, not one child can be missed. That's unacceptable.
Yeah, well, that one child deserves their present. They were good this year. And if
they
stop
were
believing,
as important as every other child getting their present for the year.
Yeah. And the final subgenre of Santa media is imposter Santas. These are films that are created to explore the consequences should an imposter Santa take over. And that's like, we've already talked about an example here, Lucas.
Jingle All the Way, where the Big Show claims to be Santa, Got it.
And then there's also Vern Troyer as well. I'll just never forget that Arnold Schwarzenegger performs the United States of Smash. He knocks the fuck out of Vern Troyer. He goes so far. Like, do they ever comment on the fact that we talked about this in the video last year, right? They never comment on the fact that in Jingle All the Way, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger low-key has superpowers.
Like, he legitimately, without question, punches a man like hundreds of feet straight through the air.
Yeah, he also puts on a jetpack and flies at 1,000 miles an hour into a brick wall and is fine. I also think one of my favourite parts of that film is just the underrated joke of Booster being the shittest.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the blinky and miss it shot that slays me every time. Where, like, the guy, Sinbad is dressed like, I don't know what the villain's name is. What's the villain's name in Jingle All the Way?
Oh.
Like the fake Turbo Man villain.
You keep making your point, I'll find out the name.
Well, he's dressed like the plot of Jingle All the Way, people don't know, is Arnold Schwarzenegger's kid wants a toy. It's a toy based on an in-universe series called Turbo Man. And Arnold Schwarzenegger is dressed like Turbo Man. Sinbad is dressed like the villain of Turbo Man. And Turbo Man has an ally called Booster that throughout the film they repeatedly establish nobody likes, including children. And when Sinbad is rushing to beat up by Arnold Schwarzenegger, he pushes Booster down into a crowd of kids. And just there's a 1 second shot of just every kid just kicking him, saying, "Screw you, Booster." And I don't know why it gets me.
Yeah, I always forget the name of the villain because it's Dementor, and you would think it has something more to do with, like, you would think his name's like fucking Megamind, right? Because he's got like the big brain head thing on show, but it's just Dementor. It's like, okay, what a shit name for a villain.
But like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like Loki, has superpowers in that movie. Like, there's a part where a police officer holds a bomb in their hand and it explodes and he's fine.
Like, Jingle All the Way does kind of follow cartoon logic in that sense.
It does, yeah. But it's weirdly too serious as well. Like, it's simultaneously very serious and grounded, but then every now and again, Arnold Schwarzenegger just becomes a superhero.
Like, in one scene, you've got Sinbad talking about how, like, his dad was a drunk and didn't get him the right toy for Christmas and ruined his childhood. And then a few minutes later, you've got a cop opening a real bomb and then just walking off with a bit of soot on his face.
Yeah. It's a wild movie. That's why it's so fun to watch, right? But, films that, deal with the idea of an imposter Santa include... well, do you want to guess here, Lucas? It's based on a famous book by one Dr. Seuss, or Dr. Seuss, as it's often mispronounced.
Is it Seuss?
Seuss, yes. It's always pronounced Seuss, and he even wrote a little rhyme. It's pronounced Seuss as in voice, not Seuss as in juice.
I've only ever heard people say Dr. Seuss, yeah.
Yeah, and Dr. Seuss was annoyed about it until he realised, like, it's fine. There's more words that rhyme with Seuss than Seuss.
I guess so. I'm drawing a blank on this one, though.
It's How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Oh, yes, of course, yeah.
Wherein the Grinch, a hairy and mean-tempered creature, attempts to rob the Whos of Whoville of their Christmas by stealing all their presents. And we've got to give shout-outs to the definitive portrayal of that character, just Jim Carrey, right? Who?
Yeah, where we talked about this in Mad Max of, oh, no wonder just Tom Hardy was good at being a prick when just they strapped him to the front of a vehicle for weeks in a desert for real. Like, I can imagine being an absolute Grinch after going through what Jim Carrey describes as, like, torture.
Yeah,
actual torture.
Like, he legit got coaching from, like, special forces soldiers on who have been tortured of how to deal with sitting in the makeup chair for 5 hours a day.
Mm. Yeah, that... It seems like it would be a lot easier to be an actual asshole, but obviously in that movie he still manages to be... light-hearted and goofy and entertaining.
What's the ultimate story about the Grinch, right? It's like the Grinch isn't mean for mean's sake, he's mean because no one likes him.
Yeah, everyone's an absolute bellend for him, to him, for things he's completely unable to control.
The fact he's green. It's like, you can't help being green. It's like the Muppets Christmas Carol, isn't it? There's that joke people have of, well, no wonder Scrooge is the way that he is. He takes one step out his door and every Muppet starts singing a song about him being a prick. They have an entire choreographed, rehearsed song about how much of an arsehole he is.
To be fair, he was already an arsehole when he met all the Muppets in that film.
He was indeed, yeah. But I think that's the way, like, Tumblr sums it. It was that, like, post that goes around every now and again of, like, Michael Caine Scrooge takes 1 foot out of his door, every Muppet in a 5-mile radius, there goes Mr. Asshole. Another less than savoury Santa Claus is found in Tim Burton's, and I don't like how they call it Tim Burton's. It's not Tim Burton's movie. Stop-action animated musical film The Nightmare Before Christmas. And Luke's told about The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Well, I mean, it is a Tim Burton movie in the sense of...
He wrote the story.
He wrote the very original story, but a lot of people always, like, misremember it as Tim Burton's, like, directorial film.
Yes, it is directed by Henry Selick, and there is a story from the making of Nightmare Before Christmas where Tim Burton did not want to deal with the ball ache of directing stop motion. And there's a story about one day he came in, and stop motion is a huge pain in the ass, and he saw one of the sets he'd seen like a week prior, and things had literally moved several inches. And he was screaming at the director of, like, make it go faster. And when they explained to him, you can't make it go faster if you want it to look good, he kicked a hole in the wall with his giant Doc Martens that the detail I love is that they're like 4 sizes too big, stuffed with newspaper, and kicked a hole in the wall and called everyone an arsehole. And they just framed that and just called it like an ode to toxic masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim Burton was just banned from coming back in because every time he came in, he yelled at people.
So yeah, he did create the idea of Nightmare Before Christmas, but then, Henry Selick, did you say it was?
Yes.
Yeah, and obviously then you've got Danny Elfman, made the score and stuff, and like basically everything that people like and credit about that film was not Tim Burton.
Yeah, it was the story, but like the animation was done by somebody else. But like Tim Burton was more than happy to take credit for it and put his name on the film, even though according to everyone else, like after he wrote the story, he turned up, yelled at all the crew, and the crew were like, "Fuck off, or we'll beat you up."
Yeah, and apart from like maybe Oogie Boogie being quite questionable, that is a fantastic movie, and just obviously spawned like years upon years upon years of just kids going into Hot Topic.
Yeah, it kept Hot Topic in business.
It did, yeah. And I am one of those people. I own much Jack Skellington merch. I'm a big fan of Nightmare Before Christmas, and just like, yeah, every time I go to Disneyland, I pretty much always come away with more Jack Skellington stuff. Yeah, which again is funny because like it is and isn't a Disney movie. Like they put it in the production team of like, we'll pay for it, but we don't want to admit that this is a Disney film until it started selling fucking merch.
It started making bank. It started moving some product.
Yeah.
And are you aware then, Lucas, of the Nightmare Before Christmas game? That's Devil May Cry. Because there's a game based on like Nightmare Before Christmas. You'd assume if you're going to make a Disney not Disney, well, you're going to make a game based on a movie like that. It'd be a platformer, right? And it's not a platformer. It's a character action game where you can just do skeleton combos. And you can do like style switching Jack Skellington combos where he goes from like Santa to Halloween mode.
Oh, that's cool.
You know what? Maybe we'll play that one day.
Maybe we can. Kind of reminds me when people are like, oh, there's an Alice in Wonderland game, and it's like, yeah, American McGee's Alice, like Madness Returns and stuff, and
which is
there's like a couple of those American McGee games that are just dark and edgy as fuck, right?
And that's another character action game where you're just doing like knife combos, and you can like bring the Cheshire Cat in for like a summon. It's great.
Yeah.
But, other films that deal with this include The Santa Claus 2, The Mrs. Claus, where Scott Calvin, Tim Allen, known snitch, must leave the North Pole to find a wife, so his number one elf turns a plastic toy Santa into a life-size robot clone of Calvin to cover for him. The Robo-Santa interprets the rules of Christmas literally, convincing himself that all of the world's children are naughty, and dresses and runs the North Pole like a Latin American dictator. So that's the thing. Was Futurama, that episode about Santa, released before or after that? Because someone ripped someone else off here. Because that's the exact backstory of Robo-Santa.
Would be after Futurama?
Let's find out. Robo-Santa Futurama episode debut. Because if that was before 1999.
Yeah,
so yes,
and I'm
Santa
sure
Claus 2 ripped that off.
Yeah, I was going to say the Santa Claus came out in 98, I believe, so its sequel would have been probably a couple of years later.
But that like completely rips off, because that's the origin of Robo-Santa in Futurama. If he was programmed to be too specific, so he deems everyone to be naughty.
Right, yeah, because I only ever watch The Santa Claus. So, like, I'd forgotten what the plots of 2 and 3 and stuff were. I think, like, 3's got, like, Jack Frost trying to take over or some shit.
You mentioned that, yeah. In number 3, the Santa Claus 3, the escape clause, Martin Short appears as Jack Frost, who is jealous of Santa, usurps the role, and turns Christmas into Frostmas, and the North Pole into a Disney-esque tourist resort.
Yeah, and so clearly something in Santa Claus 2, I guess, like, maybe someone in the comments can properly tell us, is that must, if it's about Mrs. Claus, it must address what happened to the previous Mrs. Claus. I must know.
It must do. Well, you can watch it, and then we have in Fred Claus.
I don't know if I want to watch it, to be honest.
Well, you might not want to watch this film, Lucas, Fred Claus, where Vince Vaughn plays Santa's jealous older brother who grows up hating Santa and Christmas. He cons his brother, Paul Giamatti. That's a good Christmas. That's a good Santa, right, Paul Giamatti?
Mm-hmm.
Into giving him a large sum of money for a business deal, in return for which he must come to the pole and help prepare for Christmas. Fred ends up sabotaging his brother and placing all the world's naughty children on the nice list. Meanwhile, another Santa hater, and someone will probably be on the naughty list, Kevin Spacey, is auditing Santa, looking for an excuse to fire him and the elves.
Yeah, we can keep Kevin Spacey on the naughty list. It's fine. It's fine.
Other dark imposters have appeared in various slasher films. These include Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is a series, Santa Claus, that's Claus with like a W, and Santa's Slay, that's Slay as in S-L-A-Y. In the shorts, All Through the House, and part of the horror anthology film Tales from the Crypt, later remade as episode 1.2 and directed by Robert Zemeckis in the HBO TV series of the same name. There's also David Howard Thornton, who plays Art the Clown in the Terrifier series, who disguise themselves as Santa for a scene in the film where he detonates a bomb and kills a bunch of children.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Terrifier 3. I'm a fan of horror. I'm a fan of like slasher movies and stuff. So I'm not the biggest fan of the Terrifier series. It's just too mean.
Yeah, it does sound really brutal from what I've heard.
It's just really mean-spirited. And something that I noticed when I was doing like a double bill watch-through of number 1 and 2 with a friend of mine who also likes horror movies is it's like Art the Clown, very specifically, kills a lot of women.
Yeah.
Like, he very specifically singles out a lot of women to kill in really, really nasty ways.
And I guess you could say that that's because it's trying to play up tropes of older horror movies, right? But I don't know how much, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, maybe. Yeah.
And like I said, it's just very mean-spirited as a movie. And there's like the Art the Clown, they're trying to make Art the Clown as like this like iconic slasher villain. In the same way like, Jason Voorhees or Freddy Krueger or even Chucky. The problem is that all of those characters have some semblance of humanity left in them. For example, Jason won't hurt animals. Freddy Krueger generally has rules to what he'll do. Like, he's mean, but there's rules that he follows, and Chucky is just very charismatic. Art the Clown...
That's okay.
He's
the
just
clown
an
won't
asshole.
hurt men. It's fine.
He does in the third one.
Oh, yeah.
Someone gets it real bad.
Oh, no.
But because there's like no moments of that.
Yeah. It sounds like it's... I've heard that it's a good portrayal of Art the Clown.
He's very good at the portrayal. The only thing is the marketing's really good because you can tell the actor fucking loves being Art the Clown and people like him. And when he's doing his wacky antics, the problem is that they never have a moment in the film where Art the Clown just does wacky antics and then lets somebody go. Like, for example, when he meets Santa, it's actually really great because he meets Santa and that he's really excited to meet Santa. It would be really great if you just met Santa and then that was it. Because he'd be like, oh, that's...
And moved on, yeah.
But no, then he kills him. Of
course.
There was never any moment where you actually, like, you don't have to humanify, what I'm trying to think of it, you don't have to humanize him, sorry.
Yes, that's
But at the very least, put some part of the film in, if you want to put him as this slasher villain, at least give him one line that he won't cross.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, with, like, Michael Myers. Like, Michael Myers, for example, won't kill children.
One person that he's unwilling to, like, kill or wants to protect or something from, like, deep down,
Or just have him do something out of character to be funny, like when he's handing out presents to children.
I presume they're not nice presents.
No, it's a pipe bomb.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And the thing as well, they don't have the balls to show it.
I don't want
I know you don't want to, but if you're going to put that in the film and try and sell it with it, have the balls to show it. Because they sold it as like, we're going to cross all the boundaries here, we're going to like break all the taboos, and then they don't show you it. It's like, if you're going to say that you're going to do it. Because this shows you that you are scared to commit the taboo that you're making fun of.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be happy to see it, but if you're going to tell me that you're going
to... Carl wants to see children blown up.
It's just, if you're going to like sell it on, we're breaking all the rules, and then you don't even do the thing you said you'd do. Commit
All
to the
wanted
bit.
for Christmas was to watch children get exploded on screen.
Although I am excited for if the potential fourth movie gets made, where the guy who's writing it, like someone sent like a fan poster of Terrifier in space, and it's just for some reason he's on a spaceship. Like, I'd watch that.
Maybe you'll send children out into space and you'll get to watch them like suffocate.
That's not what I mean. You know what I mean, Lucas. Stop taking my words out of context. I just mean if you're going to sell a horror movie and like, we break all the rules in this one, and then you don't break the rules, why even bother putting the scene?
If you're saying, like, fuck the taboos, we're not scared to do things more extreme, but then you're scared to do that extreme, then...
Why bother putting it in?
Mm-hmm.
Because it shows that you are just as unwilling to break this towards other people, but you're going to suggest that you did to try and get some of that notoriety, some of that edge. Is that the equivalent of someone saying like, "Oh, Joe," like, I don't know, it's a weird example when kids in school pretend to smoke because they want to look cool. It's like, well, that's even lamer. That's lamer than not. That's so lame.
That's not smoking, but you want to look like you're smoking and think it's super cool, right?
There's just something about that.
Make like the fake cigarettes where you'd like get.
Never did
like,
that. No, but I knew people
flour or something and puff it out, or.
But I knew people who would, and it's like that. There's just something about trying to do something, but you're scared to do the thing, so you pretend to do it. That's like just especially lame.
It is really scary though, because I don't know where it came from or whatever, but I do have a vague recollection of just there being some kind of like fake cigarette that my friend had that was like a little like electronic toy that when you like puffed on it, it would light up and stuff. And it's like, holy shit, they are like, there's one thing with like the little candy sticks that look like a little matchbox with cigarettes in them and stuff, but when it is like a realistic looking cigarette that when you puff on it, it lights up and everything, it's like, they're really trying to just fucking brainwash us.
The funniest review of that, though, on Amazon is a guy who's like, I work on an oil rig and I bought it as a joke. I've been reprimanded 3 times already.
Holy shit.
Because like, you imagine when you see someone pretending, you see someone who looks like they're sparking up a cigarette on an oil rig.
Jesus Christ.
It's like, I've been reprimanded for using it already, 5 stars.
Yeah, no fucking shit you have.
Yeah, and do you know what? That's a guy who fucking committed to the bit. So that's probably started as a joke, right? I thought, I'll do it as a joke. It's like, you wouldn't fucking do it as a joke. And then he did. And when people say they're going to do something stupid and then deliver, I respect that. It's like, do you ever see that Reddit thread of the guy who was like, I work for a company and I'm the only black dude who works here. And they always seem to forget that I'm the only black dude who works here. And it's especially noticeable today that they don't realise a black dude works for the company, because they've arranged to have a company retreat at a plantation, and they want everyone to dress in period-accurate attire. Would it be...
if he turned up as a slave?
That's what he says. Would it be in poor taste if I turned up as a slave? And everyone's like, no, this guy's making shit up. This is not a real thing. And then he posted 2 days later where, yeah, here's me going to the plantation thing. And he dresses like a slave. And he even goes past
oh, no.
And I think the thread is I am the most deliveringest OP in the history. And apparently he walked in and the workers were like, dude, we fucking know. They let him in, and there's just an iconic, amazing photo of him stood at the bottom of the stairs, and the caption is, they let me in the big house. And you see his boss's wife come down the stairs, hoping to do a big dramatic entrance on the staircase, and they get the photo the moment she spots him. I will find it, Lucas, during the break, and I will send it to you. That's the last entry on the list, and it is fucking incredible. And that guy's like, yeah, the person who organised that got fired, and I got given a massive fuck-off raise.
Yeah, I bet he did. Christ. Oh, that's so good. The fact that he actually committed to the bit.
And that's what I mean. That is why everyone's like, no, if this is real, it's a stupid idea. And if it's not, you're like, no, it's real, I'm going to fucking do it. And he did, and he delivered. He committed.
And that's why Karl wants to see children blown up.
I just want, if you're going to say that you're going to do that...
He wants them to commit to the bit.
I forgot that they drove past the cotton field and he goes into the field. That guy's an absolute fucking don, right?
Absolute hero for just calling them the fuck out.
And him and his wife went the day before as well, so they could tell all the staff what they were going to do.
And they could scope it out and everything, yeah.
Yeah. For example, there's a picture. I'm going to send you the picture. He goes to the staff only entrance. And he's like, I'm going to the fucking staff only entrance.
I'm not gonna put any of these pictures in the podcast itself, but I will, I guess, leave the description with the link in it.
Yeah, well, I'll send you the link to the thing as well. The only thing is, I can't copy paste the images into chat, Lucas, because they're so fucking high quality.
Oh god,
they're above 25 mega photo.
God.
Oh, but I'll send you the link and just go through the link.
Send me the link.
Let's get your reaction live on stream as you go through this, and you can feel free to read the description as much as you like.
Oh,
scroll up to the top.
It's the complete saga of Bizfitty, the corporate party slave. Jesus, I'm obviously we're going through all this, and I know this is sensitive topics and stuff. But obviously, this guy chose this joke and leaned into the bit himself. It's obviously in good faith because it's him making up this joke himself. Obviously,
it's also as well the fact that, as he talks about in the original post, when he says, "Would it be bad taste for me to do this?" that my company thinks it's okay to do. They want everyone to wear period appropriate clothing for the get together. What am I supposed to do? And he did it to highlight, hey, yeah, this is a bit fucked up that you're doing this.
This is real fucked up, yeah.
And when everyone, people are giving him shit for doing it, it's no, this is fucked up that people go out and they LARP as fucking racists. Why would you want to do this?
Mm-hmm.
Why is this a part of American history you want to celebrate? And just the pictures are amazing.
Just the face of the woman as she's wait, what the fuck are you dressed
as? It's when she notices him, right? And it's it's so good.
Yeah. I've scrolled through the pictures, but just at the bottom of this Imgur post is in the end, the boss cancelled the party, and the CEO, who was supposed to be at the party, never showed up. The reason they gave for cancelling the party was inclement weather, and boy, did it rain. And it says, while the party was supposed to be outside, the location had more than enough space inside for there to be some sort of contingency plan. It's also a bit odd that the CEO cancelled. As far as I know, he isn't allergic to the rain. My thoughts? I think the climate was just a bit dark for him.
It's absolutely fucking incredible, right? That's what I said. Delivered.
And when we talk about
heroes,
dark humour, and the right and wrong way to do it, and
heroes.
people using like dark humor as just an excuse to be like edgy assholes.
Yeah.
This is like perfect example of good dark humor.
Well, it's like one of the most legendary photos in existence, right? It's where there's the black dudes who, like, where they were driving through like Alabama or something with their friends, and they drove past a cotton field, and it's them with their belts whipping their white friend, and they've just photoshopped the picture of Martin Luther King into the sky.
Dear oh dear, but I guess on that note, it's time for us to take a group break.
It is indeed.
And I'm going to get the big sausage.
I think you're going to put that dude's photo up.
No, I'm putting the big sausage on the
screen. The link will be below. It is fucking incredible.
Yeah, he is just a nice palate cleanser for the break, everyone. The sausages. Well, like, are we on back? Indeed.
We are indeed, you are.
And I've just realised I haven't been recording.
Really?
No.
We'll do this again.
No, it's fine. Just a nice little Christmas treat for you there, Carl.
What, fear?
Yeah, just pure fear. Like, oh no, have we wasted an hour of our lives?
You've already done me so dirty. Like, Carl wants to see children detonate. It's like, no! I just want filmmakers to not bullshit me when they're telling me about their movie.
Carl, it was your words, not mine. But have you got any words for us before we move on to the next wiki, Carl?
Not particularly, besides, like, no, I hope everyone out there has a good Christmas.
Cool, yeah. So, a nice way to end the podcast, but I guess we've still got more to go.
We do indeed, yes. So what's yours? What's the wiki you brought? The final wiki of the Wiki Weekdays podcast of the year.
The final wiki. Well, I guess a little hint towards my wiki can be found for those watching the video version, and that would be my shirt.
Okay, so we're talking about Gingerbread Man.
We are talking about Gingerbread Man. You got it in one, Carl.
Oh, just the idea of Gingerbread Man.
No, we're not talking about the idea of Gingerbread Men. We are talking about one specific Gingerbread Man.
Is that the Gingerbread Man?
It would be the Gingerbread Man.
Is this the one from Shrek 2?
It's the one from Shrek.
One from Shrek. Was it Shrek 2? It's the best part of Shrek 2, right? It's like, do you know the Muffin Man?
No, Shrek 1.
Is it Shrek 2 as well?
No, the scene of Do You Know the Muffin Man is in Shrek 1.
But they also say it in Shrek 2.
Do they?
Yeah, it's when he's like, he says, do you still know the Muffin Man? Do you know when he's stood and he sees the little gingerbread man and he sees him next to the castle? I was like, yeah, he lives on Drury Lane.
Yeah, because then they get the Muffin Man to like
make the giant one.
The giant like
Mongo.
Mongo, is that it? Yeah.
I love this film.
Maybe not the best name.
Maybe not. No, it does. No. It suits the thing where he's like going. He makes like the T-Rex roar. It's great.
Maybe not. Maybe not the
like, did Ricky Gervais
names.
Write this?
Yeah. But anyway, yes, we are talking about the Gingerbread Man from Shrek, and I just thought, again, we're trying to, on the one hand, make things Christmassy for December, because Carl and I are big fans of Christmas, but at the same time, been trying to balance it out with some things that are like not necessarily just Christmas focused, so that those that don't necessarily celebrate can also like still feel involved in what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But Carl, can you guess what the quote is for the Gingerbread Man from
it's
Shrek?
Not the gumdrop buttons.
Not the gumdrop buttons.
Which becomes like his catchphrase, because that's what they say when like the big gingerbread man gets the buttons on fire. And, like the big one just like kicks it at like the castle ramparts. Like, yeah, fuck you. Down with the establishment.
Scene.
Like, there's something about seeing a giant symbol like this giant man attacking a castle and kicking the fuck out of it.
Not basically like the giant gingerbread kaiju that attacks the castle.
It's great, yeah. Down with the bourgeoisie.
Mm-hmm. Indeed you do. That is something that Wiki Weekends endorses entirely.
Absolutely, yes.
But Gingerbread Man, also known as Gingy, is a gingerbread cookie who was created by the Muffin Man. He is one of Shrek's good friends. And it's always terrifying when, I think I've heard this multiple times, found out the fact and then forgotten, that, the Muffin Man was basically just a serial killer, right?
I think that's like... It's one of those classic, like, bits of folklore, right? It's like Ring a Ring of Roses, actually about, like, the Black Death. The Muffin Man is based on a serial killer, like, baking children in the oven. And I'm guessing that, like with a lot of those cases, it's a little bit from column A, a little from column B.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
The telephone game of history has probably exaggerated any purported link between the two.
Yeah, because like there's apparently many different versions of the Muffin Man, like song throughout different parts of like Europe and such. But
do you have the lyrics to a song? Would you like to sing it for us, Lucas?
I'm not going to sing it.
I'll sing it. I don't give a fuck.
But the most widely known lyrics are do or oh do. So, do you know the Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man.
The Muffin Man.
Go on.
I was expecting you to come in with the next line, Carl.
Okay, I've got the lyrics up now. Okay, go on. You do one line, I'll do the next one.
Okay, do you know the Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man. The Muffin Man.
Do you know the Muffin Man?
Who lives on Drury Lane?
Yes, I know the Muffin Man.
The Muffin Man. The Muffin Man.
Yes, I know the Muffin Man.
Who lives on Drury Lane?
And then it just says, it repeats on and on. And yeah, literally, like, in popular culture, the first thing is just in the Shrek series.
Of course he is. He's, like, so iconic. And that's one of the things I love about Shrek, that it feels like a huge fuck you to Disney, because Disney has desperately tried to claim ownership over our literal shared heritage. Like, the Brothers Grimm wrote these fairy tales, and Disney now thinks they own these fairy tales from hundreds of years ago because they slapped a slightly different skin on them. Right? Whereas Shrek incorporates a bunch of iconic fairy tales, interprets them in a slightly different way to perhaps the original intent, but I like the interpretation they have a lot of the fairy tales, but they're not trying to say we now own Three Little Pigs or the Blind Mice. Right? They're just saying, oh no, these are iconic fairy tales, we're going to put them in our media.
It's just parody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate that Disney thinks they own Cinderella.
Yeah, when especially a lot of the earlier stuff is just all based off Grimm tales that they adapted and then decided to like
they now
slap
own it,
copyright on and own, quote unquote. Yeah, same with like things like Pinocchio and that, right?
Yeah, they think they own Pinocchio.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of the early Disney stuff, maybe not Snow White, I can't remember. I'm trying to remember whether Snow White was based off a Grimm tale or not.
I'll double check, go on. As you continue with that.
But yeah, a lot of, if not all of the early Disney animated movies are like based on things like the Grimm tales. And
Lucas, you're never going to guess where Snow White originates from.
Is it the Grimm tales?
It's Brothers Grimm, yes.
Yeah.
A 19th century collection of fairy tales written by the Brothers Grimm. They also wrote Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, and Rumpelstiltskin.
And just a lot of the stuff was like, hey, we're going to steal other people's like stories and then change them in a way that we can then copyright and claim for our own for 100 years.
Make it legally distinct, yeah. And that's why I like Shrek, where Shrek has all of these classic Brothers Grimm. I think they even like directly name drop the Brothers Grimm. There's a moment where I think they definitely put the Grimm name in a bunch of like stuff in the background, and like Sleeping Beauty, for example, is in the Shrek series. Like when Fiona invites all the other princesses to a party, Sleeping Beauty like turns up like she's on the red carpet, which just falls out.
Well, and there's Cinderella with the ugly stepsisters, right? And they make the like not great joke about the ugly stepsisters being like essentially big buff men. And it's like, again,
not aged the best.
Times have changed since the early 2000s quite rapidly.
But at the same time, I like that Shrek is like, no, fuck you. This is our shared cultural heritage. We're putting it in our movie, Disney. You don't own this. You don't own this story.
It's basically one of the only times that anyone's been able to get away with it, because DreamWorks were big enough to be like, fuck you, we're not scared of you. We're not going to listen to any like cease and desist you might knock on our door with.
Like Snow White is a story that existed a century before Disney did.
And I will say as well, just a note here, that for anyone that's going to correct us in the comments, the Muffin Man on Wikipedia here, it says Victorian households had many of their fresh foods delivered, such as muffins, which were delivered door to door by a vendor known as a Muffin Man.
No, man, I miss those days.
The muffin in question was the bread item known as an English muffin, not the
American muffin.
The American muffin, which is more like what we might call like a cupcake or something.
Yep.
However, it does say that urban legends came at a local baker named Frederick Thomas Linwood, who lived on Drury Lane in London, lure children into a dark alley by tying baked goods such as English muffins onto a string in order to murder them.
See, all you need to do is just get some Turkish delight. We got as many kids as
like,
he wanted.
Can you imagine the idea of I think one common one that people have seen a lot in like pranks and stuff is like
$1 on a string.
tying like $1 onto a string and pulling it forward as they try and grab it. But like it's just an English bread muffin on the ground and kids are like chasing this muffin.
I'll be honest, I've never seen food on the floor and thought, I really want that. I've never thought that enough to chase it into a dark alley.
I bet you that times have changed enough where maybe back in, hundreds of years ago in England, if a child saw a bread muffin on the floor, they'd probably go, I'll have that.
It's also as well, that's obviously bullshit because you don't need to. That's such a specific element of if they were really kidnapping, they wouldn't need to go through the rigmarole of putting a piece of bread on a string.
Specifically, some bread on a string and, come and get it, kids.
It's like they weigh like 40 pounds, just walk up and pick them up. You're a big burly baker.
But it says here for Gingy, going back to the Shrek wiki page,
of course that exists.
The status of Gingy is surprisingly alive.
Here's the thing as well, like what part of the gingerbread man is where his soul resides? Is he like Sandman?
There's just one speck left of the gingerbread man that's got the soul left inside.
You don't know yet. In the wiki we did on Sandman, it turns out there's like one single grain of sand, and that's Sandman, that's his soul, that's his essence, and every other piece of sand is superfluous, and he can lose or shed it at will.
He like manipulates the nucleus of Sandman so much that every time a part of his body gets like damaged or destroyed, he's just moved that one bit of Sandman around his body to make sure he stays safe.
So which part of the gingerbread man is the soul? Like, so he loses his legs and he's fine.
Is
he
it
just
the
gets new legs.
buttons? Is that why he cares so much about them?
Maybe. Because like, keep in mind, like, Farquaad rips his legs off and he just like staples them back on.
Well, that's why I say surprisingly alive, because his first appearance in any of the movies is immediately getting his legs broken off.
It's also worth pointing out as well, he is edible.
Yes, yeah.
And he's best friends with a wolf.
Like, he is a baked treat that comes to life.
And I bet he's got to be tasty, right?
He's probably quite stale at this point.
But he's alive. There's got to be some sort of like extra thrill you'd get from eating a thing that can scream. He can tell you that he doesn't want it.
Stop it! You first wanted to blow up babies, now you want to eat things while they're alive.
Stop it! This is a Christmas episode.
You've got occupations here.
What the fuck is he gonna do?
Occupation, wannabe cowboy. How is that an occupation, Gingy? I want to be an astronaut. It doesn't mean it's my occupation. And then in an alternate reality where he's a gladiator.
Again, how?
Does that make him the worst or the best? Because he can lose body parts and just get him like stapled back on.
Just staple him back on. It's Senator Armstrong does.
Location, formerly Gingerbread Mansion. Currently Drury Lane in Far Far Away. And temporarily Duloc.
Is that as well the best joke in Shrek 2, where it's like, are we there yet? And it's like, what part of Far, Far Away do you not understand? Right?
It's called Far, Far Away.
It's like, it's just such, it's more though, just how flatly it's delivered by Shrek of like, what part of Far, Far Away do you not get? And then just like when you see, when he's like making the popping noise, and you see the donkey come in and go, that gets me every time as well.
We have gender, male, family, the Muffin Man, who is his creator or papa, and then Mungo, who is his brother.
Here's the thing as well. How do we know he's male? I don't see no gingerbread penis on there.
Well, they do have a joke about him getting a wife, right? And his wife goes insane and tries to like trap him in the house and never let him go and see his friends ever again.
That's true.
Again, some pretty weird, tasteless jokes in these movies, I do admit.
But I do remember
Shrek is, like, overall, like, pretty great, but some of the humour is definitely aged very strangely.
But for the most part, the films do hold up. And Speaking of like gingerbread men, I remember where there was like, it was Greg's or something, changed gingerbread men to gingerbread people, and the usual suspects got mad about it.
Oh, fucking,
of course they did. It's like, why are you trying to be
mad?
How dare you be more inclusive? And just like, the top response was like, do you want us to put little dicks on them? Is that what you want?
Do you want to eat a little gingerbread penis?
Do you want us to put a little gingerbread penis on it and give it to your kids?
And Carl, can you guess the race for gingerbread?
Just a gingerbread man
here. It's a gingerbread cookie.
Okay, here's the thing as well. Are you aware that there's a Shrek fighting game in which, like, the gingerbread man is fucking incredible? Because there's that, like, Shrek Super Slam fighting game that's actually legit super good and has, like, weirdly in-depth mechanics. And there's, like, if you play as, like, if you want to be a good gingerbread man main, you have to learn crumpet cancelling. Where he's got like a move called the crumpet dash, and you can cancel it into itself, and the gingerbread man has infinite recovery.
Oh dear.
Also, like Little Red Riding Hood is the single best character in the game. She's banned. She's banned tier. Like she's like Meta Knight from Brawl.
Yeah, she is. Yeah. She's like Ubers.
She's Uber tier, yeah.
And then we have the voice here. So the main voice of Gingy here is Conrad Vernon, who plays them in the films, the Shrek the Third video game, Shrek Super Slam, Shrek Forever After video game, and TV commercials. We've got James Arnold Taylor, who voices them in Shrek 2 the video game, Shrek Smash, and Crash Racing. And I did for a second thought that said Super Smash.
Super Smash, bro. He's got a cameo.
I was like, where is he in Super Smash Bros?
If anyone wants a good laugh, go look up like the Shrek Super Slam footage, and it is ridiculous.
It's a terribly great game.
There's tech.
In the sense of like it's a video game that's like so bad it's good.
It's one of those games where you're playing like, why is this so like who on the development team gave a shit?
The person who had played Smash Bros. Melee, right?
It's like I said, there's that Nightmare Before Christmas game, that's Devil May Cry. And you can like, and there are legit like combo videos, like Jack Skellington combo videos, and fucking just annihilating Oogie Boogie with a 0 to death.
Oh my god. And then just in some of the musicals, we've got Haven Burton in Shrek the Musical on Broadway, Amy Garcia, Shrek the Musical First National Tour, and Alice Fern for Shrek the Musical West End production.
Is the best thing to come out of Shrek those out of context like clips of the stage show where it's the guy in full Shrek makeup doing the full splits? Also, my camera stops. I'll fix that.
Carl's gonna fix his camera.
Yeah,
but it looks genuinely terrifying to me. Like, watching Shrek the Musical, like the actual Shrek actor always looks
terrifying,
just horrifying to me.
But to me, it's always the same image, and it's the actor doing the full splits in full makeup. What part of the musical requires the Shrek actor to do the full fucking splits?
You know what, Carl? Do not question it. Shrek needs to do splits, okay? Yeah. That's how he just like goes about getting it out rather than him.
I'm going to go find some right now as you tell me more about the gingerbread man. Also, like, did you pick this one because like gingerbread is a traditional Christmas snack?
Of course, yes. Like gingerbread man, they're just like one of my favourite gingerbread snacks. One of my like favorite Christmas memories is building like a gingerbread massacre house where just instead of trying to like make the gingerbread house look all nice, it's like fuck it, like an asteroid had hit and they were all like broken into pieces. And
that happens every now and again, doesn't it? Or like there's the classic that's the one made like the gingerbread crack house.
Oh, no.
That's always the one. Like, this isn't a crack house, it's a crack home. But I'm just saying like a screech, Lucas. Like, why is the guy in the Shrek musical going that hard for Shrek?
Yeah, he goes so hard.
Well, the Shrek costume is like 1-to-1, but the donkey is always horrifying because it's always just a dude dressed in like half a fursuit.
God, yeah. And Carl has not shown me a picture of him doing the splits. He just showed me a picture of him like going full force in his singing. So
it's hard to find like the specific thing I'm looking for because I don't want to put in Shrek doing the splits.
Dude, you know what? If you're not willing to Google it, then no one gets to see it, Carl.
Okay, they don't get to see it.
Well, appearances here, Carl.
Yes.
Gingy is made of gingerbread and is about the size of a human hand. He is decorated with coloured frosting and has two... Okay, yeah,
you tell me the Shrek wiki's not well written, I'm annoyed.
It's not. He has two gumdrop buttons, of which he is very protective of. After losing both of his legs, he attached a new pair using white frosting as stitches.
And in fact, it works as well.
Yeah, they are. Oh yeah, they are a new set of legs because he like dunks them in the milk and everything, right?
Yeah, it's also as well, that means that he can just build himself new body parts.
That's why he's a great gladiator, Carl. Because he can put himself back together.
It's like the part of...
We're going to have the gingerbread man of Theseus. So at what point does Gingy end?
Exactly. It's like in I think it's Toy Story 4, when Mr. Potato Head attaches the pieces to a tortilla.
Yeah.
And it's like...
okay. What part of Mr. Potato Head is the Mr. Potato Head?
And how far apart, and like where the eye is missing and you can see like a mile away. It's like, okay, which part does Mr. Potato Head live in? If I took one, his eye is clearly not the part, that's him. And neither is the potato.
But more importantly, which part is married to Mrs. Potato Head?
Which is the part that is actually quote unquote alive? I don't like that it's making me ask these questions.
At what point do you put new parts onto the same potato and it's a different Mr. Potato Head?
It's also really hilarious as well because apparently the animators were fucking pissed off when that was in the storyboards of like, now we need to figure out how a tortilla would walk.
It's like how a tortilla would walk with Mr. Potato parts.
Exactly, and they were so mad about it. Apparently, like we've got to figure that out. But which is the part that's alive?
Which is like, because you'd think Mr. Potato Head, what's the part that is alive and constitutes the man? And you would think it's the potato, but apparently it's not because the potato can become a tortilla, and he's still the same person.
Exactly. So what part of him is the real part?
At what part does Gingy start building himself new parts and not become Gingy anymore? Like, is it like a worm where if you like broke up Gingy into 10 pieces, you'd then create 10 Gingys if you built them all new bodies?
Yeah, or what would happen if, like, his brother, could you make him a new body? Like, what would happen instead of getting, like, same size legs, you're getting 14-foot long legs?
Yeah. Like, it's questions.
Because clearly the new leg parts, they're not like prostheses, they are like
they're brand new gingerbread cookies that have been broken off and measured to fit him.
That work as fitted, right?
Yeah, with just something as simple as, like, stitches made from frosting.
Yeah, and it's weird. And I know we're being, like, facetious a little here, but I absolutely adore when just, here's, like, an ostensibly silly universe, and you ask a very serious question. Like the one of, like, how did Donkey fuck that dragon? What was he doing? What are the mechanics there?
IVF, Carl. Okay, they just really wanted it to work out. She wanted kids. He was okay with the idea, but he just didn't know how the mechanics work, so they got a doctor involved. It's like one of the best parts of Mass Effect 2 is like when you go and consult Mordin before you have to before you sleep with any of the alien species. Yeah. Like, Mordin, how safe is it if I bang Thane? It's like, well, or how can I keep Tally alive and still have sex with her?
The best one is Tally, where he has to develop like super antibiotics because people that are in Mass Effect, like Tally is from a race of aliens that have no immune system, and they say
they are fully immunocompromised and have to stay inside like protective suits at all times.
And like Shepard's like, but I want you to take that off so I can put my dick inside of you. My dick that's covered in all sorts of...
You can romance them as a female shepherd too.
It's like, I want to get all up in... and Shepard don't wash his dick.
Carl, why? No, Carl.
Do you ever see Shepard take that costume off? There's no shower in his quarters.
Shepard's got a private shower in their own room.
I never see him use it.
That means your Shepard canonically doesn't wash, Carl.
Exactly. Go on, tell me more about Gingerbread Man now.
I don't like
this is a bad episode. Do you know what? I want to start creating some bad sound clips for you, Lucas.
You're the one who said he didn't wash himself.
You've done me so dirty this episode. I'm so annoyed.
So, personality. Gingy presents himself as a cheerful and carefree individual. However, this is mostly a facade for his public appearances, as he is shown to be an extreme worrywart and is occasionally snarky.
Okay, so who's your favourite side character in Shrek, and why is it the Big Bad Wolf? I love that the Big Bad Wolf is just constantly in Shrek's bed, and it's like, hello?
I don't really remember the wolf, to be honest.
Well, the Big Bad Wolf is the one who's just dressed like Grandma.
I get that, but I don't remember them much in Shrek. They didn't stand out to me as a character.
They do to me, because it's the one where, when the Prince Charming goes to rescue Fiona, it's the Big Bad Wolf in the bed. And he knocks in, he's like, Fiona, and he's like, no. I just like the idea that the big bad wolf was like, you know what? Pretending to be someone's grandma and lying in bed's pretty sweet, and that's all he wants to do.
God, at what point does Red Riding Hood pull out an Uzi?
I don't know. That'd be great.
That's one of my favourite parts. That's for the Marvel vs. Capcom version, right? Red just pulls out the Uzi from the basket and starts shooting people up.
I'm also a fan not of Pinocchio, but the one joke in Pinocchio. It's like, quick, tell a lie. It's like, I'm wearing ladies' underwear. Are you? No. It's the most unconvincing line read ever. Well, that's the point, right? It's like, it is the most flaccid no ever delivered.
Mm-hmm. And I think Gingy is up there as one of my favourite side characters, alongside, of course, just Donkey.
I also like the blind mice constantly walking into walls. Like, every scene you see them in, they're always facing the wrong way. I like that as a detail, that the blind mice are always facing the wrong way.
Oh, God. Yeah, but, I mean, it's one of those of, it is annoying that, kind of, as most movies do, it's it goes from focusing on Shrek and Donkey to, focusing on just Shrek's love life all of the time throughout the next 4 movies and spin-offs and stuff.
I don't need to know that he got married and lived happily ever after. There's a reason why every fairy tale stops after that part, right? Because that's the boring part.
Yeah.
And it's weird how a series lampooning and parodying fairy tales didn't learn the lesson from fairy tales that literally every single one ends with, and then they lived happily ever after.
But then, because obviously Shrek was so successful, money, but the fact that nearly every single one is will Shrek and Fiona get together or not? But they got together, they had kids, and then it's will the kids ruin the relationship?
Yes, but
will
they'll deal with
the parents ruin the relationship? Will she get with Prince Charming? And every single one is questioning just Shrek and Fiona's relationship over and over again. And I'm like, there are other things we can do. We can just have the fairy godmother do a concert.
Yeah, I would also love to see more of this world, because I love that every character is a reference to something from an old fairy tale. Who's the king end up being? He ends up being the frog prince. He's the frog that got turned into a handsome prince.
And of course, there is the theory that Donkey is actually one of the kids from Pinocchio.
Because the kid that gets turned into a donkey, yep.
Because the thing is that they're all coming from fairy tales and things like that, and it's what's this donkey? Who is Donkey? Everyone else in that
is a
series
thing, except for Shrek, who's the OC.
Except for Shrek, obviously, yeah. But the idea of ogres persist in fairy tale, right?
He does, yes.
But who is this one reference who is just Donkey? And it's obviously the theory is that it's one of the kids from Pinocchio that got turned into a donkey, just like Pinocchio did, but they never got turned back.
And then you have that one really, really dark joke where it's the 3 bears have a cameo in the Shrek movie, and it's the baby bear crying over the bearskin rugs, and it's that's dark.
Oh.
It's one of the background details of you see the 3 bears being taken during the cages where Donkey's being taken, and then later in the movie you see there's the bearskin rugs. But you know what? I like that as being a reference to. And again, it's not that I like that they killed the baby bear. It's that I like
no, they didn't kill the baby bear. That's what Carl's upset about.
It's a reference to the Grimm's fairy tales, which tended to be a lot more harsh.
Grim.
Because
a lot more
that was
grim.
their name. That wasn't why they were the thing. But
of course. It's just a coincidence.
It's a good point.
I think it's a coincidence, or is that where the word grim comes from?
It might do. Sure. You know what? We'd have to look at the origins of that. Maybe someone can let us know. But yeah, those fairy tales ended up having the endings were a lot more harsh than the Disney versions. For example, in Cinderella, the ugly stepsisters, when they're trying to put on the glass slipper or the Via slipper, because it's believed to be fur in the original story.
Don't they break their feet so they can try and squeeze them in more effectively to fit the shoe?
They cut off their own toes. Yes. And that's
let's say they cut their toes off, yeah.
And that's another thing as well, where in the original story, the translation is often done poor. It's via, which is fur, not glass. So it was supposed to be a fur slipper.
But obviously, I guess
glass slipper also works.
It's kind of a bit more special and sparkly to show the sparkly, nice, pretty glass slipper.
Look at that.
And it also makes a bit more sense as to why it would specifically fit one foot, because... Yep. It's moulded in glass, something that's very fragile and not stretchy.
Yeah, but it also doesn't make sense that the mice turn into slippers. It's the mice that turn into slippers.
Turn into slippers?
It's the mice in the original story. It's the mice that turn into slippers.
Ooh.
Because every aspect of the thing, it's a piece of the environment, right? And it's I forget what it is but it's the pumpkin turns into a carriage, something turns into a horse.
Yeah.
Which is referencing Shrek, isn't it? Where they're going through all the potions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they have all the potions that turn things into other things. Like they turn Donkey into the Stallion and Shrek into Zac Efron, apparently.
It's not Zac Efron.
No, have you seen like buff Zac Efron when he was like doing that movie, got super buff? I'm going to send you the picture, you're going to see it.
There's the fact that he's buff and the fact that he also like apparently had facial reconstruction after an accident, right?
Yeah.
And for a while his like jaw and stuff was a bit more swollen than it should be, and people were like, what's he done to his face? It's like, I had an accident.
But also, Luke,
like,
you tell me this man does not look a little bit like human Shrek. Just a little bit. You tell me there's not any resemblance there?
There is a bit, but like it's very much just handsome man with beard and hair that doesn't look that much like him, really. But
to be clear as well, it's not a slight on Zac Efron because they specifically make Shrek takes potion to be handsome.
Oh no, he's hot as fuck. Yeah.
Because that's the joke, isn't it? It's like first I was all ugly, but now we're sexy.
Yeah, like hot Shrek is actually pretty hot, and I don't know if that like is that image actually what he looks like, because that
it feels a little bit edited, right? It feels like they put it through the Chad like filter or something.
It's more just that it looks less rubbery on the skin than I imagine it was in Shrek 2.
Yeah, either way,
like it looks a bit more high fidelity than I remember. But I'm going to give a quick Google
of human Shrek. But I do like when Shrek becomes a human, because that also has one of my favourite lines in it, where he robs that dude and goes, I will not forget this favour. I will return to pay you back, unless, of course, I forget. And just pisses off.
It's definitely edited, because not only does he look a lot less rubbery, Shrek in the movie does not have a beard. Whereas they've given him, like, the nice, like, 5 o'clock shadow. Yeah. Well, not even shadow, but, like, you know, the thin, like, nice beard. But, yeah. They've definitely edited that.
I was remember
like,
that image going around.
Way more high fidelity than I remember.
It feels like they put like the Giga Chad filter over Shrek's face, which it doesn't work. Did you ever see that guy who did that? It's like, I ran my face through the Giga Chad filter 50 times until it stopped changing it. This is peak masculinity, and he looks like just it was like a stone.
I guess just for the sake of video watchers, I will put in the image that we're talking about of like the Zac Efron comparison. But we will pop that just here so that people can see it. Like that Shrek, like I knew there was something different about the Shrek.
Lucas knows he's some fucking Shrek.
My, you know, couldn't put my finger on it. But yeah, the original Shrek does not have that beard.
But either way, yeah. Do you have any like favourite moments from like Shrek 1 or 2? Because I'm not going to say 3 because no one likes Shrek 3. No one's favourite Shrek moment comes from 3. Shrek 2 is probably the better movie, and there's so many, like I said, just Shrek being like, I will return to repay his favour, unless, of course, I forget, and just pisses off. It's so funny.
Yeah, I enjoy Shrek 1 and 2. I've seen Shrek 1 a lot more than Shrek 2, but I do, as I referenced earlier, I do really enjoy just the, what's the song that the fairy godmother sings that, like, they absolutely nail?
Yeah, it's not I Need a Hero, is it?
I Need a Hero?
It's Holding Out for a Hero.
This not long.
Holding Out for a Hero. Sung by Jennifer Saunders. Very well.
That's Jennifer Saunders.
To the point where Bonnie Tyler herself complimented on her doing one of the best renditions of the song.
Yeah, it's Holding Out for a Hero, but a lot of the time people think it's I Need a Hero. But then I always then forget which one's the right one and wrong one and get them mixed up and confused in my head.
Mandela effect sort of thing, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I am a fan of that, like I said. The fact they got the actress to sing it. There's also on the DVD extras, which I remember because my sister was obsessed with Shrek 2, and she'd watch it endlessly on DVD. The DVD extras had a cameo from Simon Cowell.
No.
Where they did like
did they do like an X Factor kind of reference, or like Pop Idol maybe at the time, I can't remember. But...
And they get each member of the cast to sing a song, and that's where you get Puss in Boots singing Livin' La Vida Loca.
Oh man, the Puss in Boots The Last Dance just got added to Netflix in the UK. I just watched a trailer for that the other day and was like,
I've still not seen that. Is that the one where they've got Hot Death?
Hot Death, and they've just got like, it just goes full anime for the battles.
I don't like that picture. Like, here's the first villain of Puss in Boots. Then it's Death, and it's fucking like, isn't it?
Obviously,
he's the Humpty Dumpty, right? Is the first villain.
Really?
I think Humpty Dumpty was the villain in the first
Puss in Boots movie.
And it was like Georgie Porgy, right?
No clue. Absolutely no clue.
I'll look that up as well as you go through more of like the gingerbread man.
obviously a highlight of Shrek 2 is just Puss in Boots, played by Antonio Banderas.
He's great, he's wrong.
Maybe that or the dad's from Spy Kids, but I don't think he's actually one of the better parts of Spy Kids, to be fair.
So it was Jack Horner. So it's little Jack Horner. Not Georgie Porgy Pudding and Pie.
It is very funny going back and watching Spy Kids of like, goddamn, their parents are like the most attractive couple in the world.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, dear God.
And then the uncle is just Danny fucking Trejo from the Machete universe.
Yeah.
Which Robert Rodriguez himself has confirmed that is the same character from the Machete movies.
Yeah, Machete from Spy Kids is Machete from the Machete movies.
Do you ever think as well what he would do to Robert Rodriguez? Where he'd always call him at home at night. And Robert Rodriguez just send me a fucking text. And Danny Trejo would just text back, Machete don't text.
I still remember the interview that Salma Hayek did, where she was like, "Oh yeah, I met Danny Trejo," and he was like, "Oh, I've got a tattoo of you."
Yes.
She's like, "Wait, what?" And he had a tattoo of a woman on him that just so happens to look exactly like Salma Hayek.
Yes. So Danny Trejo has the iconic tattoo of the lady wearing the sombrero with giant honking tits, and supposedly when he went in, he said to the tattooist, "I want to get the most beautiful woman ever." And it ends up looking like Salma Hayek, so that guy absolutely nailed the prompt of the most beautiful woman in the world.
But yeah, she just met him, and he was like, "I have you on me."
And she saw it, and she was like, "Wow, it is me." How did those two end up dating? What a power couple that'd have been.
Oh, that would be. But I'll go back to Gingy's personality here. So it says that he's a worrywart and extremely snarky. And this is prevalent when he insults characters like Prince Charming, who he calls King of the Stupids, and Pinocchio, saying to him, "Guess what, Pinocchio? No one cares." He can especially be put on edge when seeing the consumption of other gingerbread people, even if they aren't alive.
That's his people.
It's yeah, no shit.
How do you know they are not? They could be alive. They just might not be moving. They might be scared.
If I just saw people, dead or alive, being eaten by others, I'd probably be like, "Oh, fuck."
Do you know that super realistic cake making show? If they made one that looked exactly like you and you saw someone eating it, you'd feel uncomfortable, right?
Yeah,
I feel uncomfortable. Do you have a cake with your face on it? I feel uncomfortable cutting into that. It's I don't want to cut into an image of someone else's face.
Also, you're okay with blowing up babies, but not cutting fake babies.
Stop doing that. That just feels like bad karma, doesn't it?
It does, a little bit.
So it reminds me there's a study that psychologists did where they got a bunch of people who were self-confessed skeptics, and they asked them, do you believe in fate? Do you believe in luck? And they're like, no, I don't believe in any of that nonsense. It's all bullshit. Like, okay. We asked you to bring in a picture of your wife, your daughter, some very close loved one. They put it in front of them and put a butcher's knife in front of them and stab that photo. Mm-hmm. And the majority of them refused to do it. And when they were asked why, I said, I just don't feel like it. I don't feel like it's a good idea to do that. And they couldn't explain why.
It's just something that feels uncomfortable regardless of whether you believe it would do anything.
Yeah. And that's what they pointed out to them. It was why it's not bad, right? You don't think it's going to be bad luck. You've told us you don't believe in it. Majority of people still refuse to do it. And yet we put those bits on cakes and then cut into it and then eat it.
Yeah, stab them. Make them voodoo cakes. Oh, God. But alongside this, he is extremely devoted to his craft with gingerbread houses. Whenever someone wrecks his work, he will unleash his frustration onto any culprit.
And he starts crumpet cancelling across the arena.
He's coming for you. He's just wave dashing Luigi style.
Imagine, if in the middle of the movie, just Puss in Boots started wave dashing.
I know for a fact, based off even just watching the trailer for that Puss in Boots movie, I know that Puss in Boots could perform some sick wave dashes.
You don't even need to. I've seen him doing fucking parries. Don't forget, he fights 5 armed soldiers at once. And he's loving it. He has so much fun. Puss in Boots.
I do like the concept for that movie. Again, when I watch it, we'll have to do Wiki Weekends on it at some point.
Yeah, if it's on Netflix right now, I'll get to watching it over Christmas as well.
Add it to the list.
It's just people wait, you've not seen that movie? I heard it was good. It was on my radar. Just I didn't happen to have anyone around me who wanted to go to a cinema, and then when I remembered to go watch it, it was gone.
Majority of the time nowadays, I pay for so many subscription services that I just wait for movies to go onto their
Exactly, yeah. And the concept is what, Lucas? Because I do like the concept as well.
The concept is that he's lived his life of a swashbuckling adventurer, but he's lived 8 of his 9 lives. And now he's on his very last one. So he goes into, like, a care home for cats, and he's, like, retired as the adventurer.
I knew that it was like, oh, he's a cat, so he has 9 lives. I didn't realise there's a care home for cats detail. That detail completely, like, missed me.
I don't know if it's, like, a care home or rescue or whatever, but, like, I've just watched the trailer, but he, like, buries the suit and is like, Puss in Boots is retired, and, like, I've only got 1 life left, so he goes to, like, he goes into care to be looked after so that he doesn't, like, go to risk of death or anything.
Is there as well, like, it's not necessarily just specific to Shrek, but when you have, like, an anthropomorphized animal character, when they start acting like the animal. Like, I love when Puss in Boots...
when Puss in Boots, like, every now and then just gets caught, like, grooming himself, and he's like, oh,
yeah.
Oh, no, I'm totally serious. Don't look.
I also think, like, the greatest part of that is when he, like, flies through the air and he goes into a perfect starfish formation and lands exactly in the boots. I don't know why just the image of him just starfishing through the air gets me, but it does.
Mm-hmm. And, yeah, Gingy in his early life was created by the Muffin Man, alongside with the rest of the gingerbread people.
He created life and then just like, you know what, I'm done. I want to keep making muffins.
The Muffin Man doesn't end lives in this universe, he creates them. But
why is he doing that? Why does he still sell fucking muffins?
And maybe he doesn't sell muffins anymore. Maybe he figured out how to create life and is like, fuck it, this is it now.
He's just creating tiny gingerbread slaves.
Well, and a giant one, right?
Yeah. The second as well he does that, everyone's like, make 5 more.
Yeah. We'll storm the castle with Mongo. Why didn't you make 20 of them?
Why do we have an army when we can have like 15 of these fuckers?
Mm-hmm. But some years later, he attended Cookie Academy in home economics. And sometime later after that, he married an unnamed gingerbread woman, though the relationship didn't last long. And I would assume that is the one where he gets trapped in this awful toxic relationship where she doesn't let him leave. I've seen glimpses of it in like Shrek the 3rd or the 4th or the 5th.
There's like those 15 TV shows, right? And then there's the Puss in Boots TV shows.
Because there's 4 Shrek movies that goes to Shrek Forever After, but then there's also listed here with Gingy appearances: Scared, Shrekless, Donkeys, Christmas, Shrektacular, Swamp Talk, and then Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. But speaking of which, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, Gingy makes a cameo in the flashback of Puss's 7th death. Gingy can be seen inside of Drury Lane, watching Puss in Boots baking what appears to be bread. He says that Puss in Boots has set the oven too high, and Puss claims that he is the master of baking, but ends up getting blasted by the oven's fire.
Here's the thing as well. If you had like 9 lives, would you use one of them for a joke? Would you, if you knew that you could like die 9 times before it stuck, would you use one of the lives for a piss take?
Maybe.
Just to see. For joke, like we sort of like, delivering. Like, for a bet.
Oh, I'm going to jump off this mountain or something.
Yeah. Just do it for the vine.
And that's the other question. It's like, okay, in this, like, Puss in Boots gets eaten by the oven's fire and comes out the other side of it fine. What happens if I jump off a mountain and splat? Do I then have a body left to come back to life into or not?
Yeah, see, my interpretation of this has always been that you would never know when you've used one of your lives.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have like a near-death experience? That's one of your lives.
You used one of your lives to save yourself from that near-death experience. Okay,
you don't know how many near-death experiences you've had. Because I think, I forget the name, but there is a short story that deals with this. Where it's like a guy thinks he's invincible. We see like, he wishes for like, 1 million lives or something like that, and he doesn't realise that like every second of every day after he wished for that, he was using up his like finite supply of lives.
Right.
Because they're just every day, like, walked into traffic and he was safe from being hit by a car or something like that.
I do like that concept of having your life where you don't know how much of it is left and therefore you don't know what to play with. I think they do a good job of it in Death Note, where they can make the deal for the Shinigami eyes, and the deal is you get these eyes where you can see the name and lifespan of everybody else, but right this second when we make the deal, I take half of your remaining lifespan. But I'm not going to tell you how much you've got left before you make the deal. And just the idea that you could be like, yeah, sound, I'm like Yagami. I'm 16 years old. I've probably got another, 70 years under my belt.
Yep.
But, doesn't take the deal because he's like, well, that'd be stupid. That could be... I could end up dying tomorrow without knowing it. And obviously, he'd only be living 2 days, but that's the concept, isn't it? What if I only have 10 lives left to live? 10 years left to live. I've now all of a sudden only got 5 years to make use of this power.
Also, I've not really been that familiar with Death Note. What purpose would that prove? What use would it be to know when someone's going to die? I guess to save people?
So the lifespan of someone isn't necessarily as important as the whole being able to see somebody's name, because when you write a name in the Death Note, you need to know their real name and you need to be imagining their face as you write it.
Okay.
So, for example, when Light is trying to have a kind of two-sided battle between Light and L, of who's gonna
I know that, yeah.
stop the other one first.
I know the thrust of it is he's trying to learn this dude's name. And it's just fucking look him up on the internet.
He's trying to figure out what L's real name is, but he can't figure out what his real name is. But then if he just made the deal for the eyes, he could immediately just look at L and know what his real name is. But then he's too, egotistical and selfish to make that deal because he doesn't want to die early.
Yeah, then films out there, you've not seen Death Note? Again, it's been on my list for ages, but I hear good things, and then I encounter people who really like Death Note and go, maybe I don't want to watch this show.
It's really good in the first half, and then it does, I think the second half is, of a little bit lesser quality, but it's still really good. It's still, as well, only, 28 episodes or something like that, so it's not, massively difficult to get.
I'll put it on the list above One Piece, then.
I will murder you at some point, Carl. I will. Every time I make the joke of it, you exploding babies, One Piece goes one notch down the list. Yeah.
Lucas, we've encountered way too many people online who can't tell what a joke is.
Mm-hmm.
Or do not know what sarcasm is.
Yeah. And someone out there that really thinks that Carl wants to see those babies explode. And you do to an extent in the, if you're going to say you're going to do it, to fucking do it.
In a movie, yes. So
in a movie, if you're going to say that you have no barriers, that don't have any barriers.
It's like if I was going to watch, a movie and they said, a Tom Cruise movie, oh, this is the best stunt you've ever seen. And they don't do a good stunt.
Again, your point was more than anything, just, if you're going to commit to a bit, fucking commit to the bit.
Yes. Especially if you're going to hinge your marketing on this.
Mm-hmm.
In regards to Terrifier 3, they hinge the marketing on, we're going to break all the taboos. It's the absolute worst movie you've ever seen in terms of the violence and gore on display. It's it's not. There are other movies out there that are worse in terms of what they deal with. I
come in and thought I'd throw Carl all the way
you
under.
Did. And you know what? I didn't have any lives left to go, whoa, and dodge it. It's I just saw the bus and went, I guess this is it.
But I guess we should talk about just the two most important appearances, I would say, of Jinji here. First, in Shrek 1, Jinji is first seen being interrogated by Thelonious?
Is that his name? Lord Farquaad?
Who's Thelonious?
Is he one of Lord Farquaad's dudes, and then Lord Farquaad himself comes in?
Oh, so the big executioner guy with the
then Lord
big
Farquaad
hooded,
comes in.
And then Lord Farquaad comes in, yes.
I guess it's just that moment with Lord Farquaad is so iconic, people forget that there's another dude in the scene.
Okay, yeah, so I'm misremembering this scene. It says, Thelonious tortures Gingy in order to make him confess to the location of the other fairy tale creatures in Duloc. So, Gingy is a snitch. He's joined the ranks of Tim Allen, but he had both of his legs ripped off and had his head repeatedly dunked into a glass of milk. This is a man who gave into pressure of torture.
He held out for as long as he could.
He did, yeah.
It's like he's not like we mentioned that little shit from Lion, Witch and Wardrobe. They gave him some Turkish delight. He held out. Like, how many people could sit there as their legs are ripped off and eaten in front of them? Like, I'd confess.
That's the thing. He got both legs ripped off, and he got dunked repeatedly into a glass of milk. Meaning, not only is he like drowning in the milk,
that's like acid.
His consistency is being destroyed by the milk. Like, he's getting worn away by that glass of milk as well.
Keep in mind as well, like the gingerbread man, unlike Tim Allen, doesn't bang on about how much of a man they are.
And the very funny thing is, this snitch did get stitches because he got the frosting stitches put on when he got his legs back. He literally got stitches.
So there's not many people out there who are hardcore enough to deal with that, but Tim Allen, like I said, it's just always funny that he now hinges his career on, like, you know, real men and people today are too pussified. It's like, you immediately bitched out when you were confronted with the and he talks about people taking responsibility for actions. It's like, you willingly tried to fucking traffic drugs. And you immediately sold out everyone you could so you didn't have to, like, deal with the consequences.
But Gingy held out for a long time, more than most would, and that is the backstory to how they gathered up all of the fairy tale creatures.
Yep.
Is Gingy, unfortunately, gave them up after being tortured, but Farquaad takes over the interrogation from Thelonious and taunts Gingy with the already broken off legs.
By eating
throwing one of his legs at him and crumbling the other into pieces. Gingy resists and spits in Farquaad's eyes, causing him to threaten to take off the gumdrop buttons. And that is pretty metal, is he's had his legs ripped off and been fully tortured, like, and then he just spits in the guy's face.
And you might be right, Lucas. The gumdrop button might be the source of his, like, soul, because, like, when he gets his legs ripped off, he's not that bothered. But when the gumdrop button is threatened, he's like, well, that's it. I'd be dead if I've held out as long as I could. He's figured out my secret.
Exactly. He's found the weak spot.
That also as well is like one of those metal things, like, people like that can happen in fiction, right? It's like people in the face of just someone who is trying to get them to, like, give in through torture, just literally spits in their face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then he then seemingly gives into the torture when he touches the gumdrop buttons and mentions a woman who is married to the Muffin Man. Then the interrogation is interrupted as they found the magic mirror on the wall. And then in Shrek 2, Shrek, Princess Fiona, and Donkey go to far, far away, and then the other fairy tale creatures watch over the swamp. But then, of course, when they need help, Shrek and Gingy go to the Muffin Man's house and make a giant gingerbread man named Mungo.
Oh man, it's as well just that moment where just the hero moment of him storming that castle.
Mm-hmm. And bear in mind as well, as they say here, Mungo is holding open the drawbridge for Shrek to enter, but his arms get severed because guards pour vats of hot milk onto him.
Yep.
So his arms get severed off by hot milk being poured onto him, and Gingy was getting his head dunked into milk as torture. So he held out pretty well.
To gingerbread people, that's like acid.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Mungo then falls and slowly sinks into the moat surrounding the castle. Gingy jumps after him, and Mungo tells Gingy to be good. And Puss in Boots saves Gingy from sinking into the water along with Mungo. So Gingy was willing to go down with the ship there.
Yeah, also Mungo does survive during the post-credit sequence.
Okay, yeah, it says Gingy, along with the rest of the group, helps Shrek defeat the fairy godmother, and after the events, they are all seen dancing with Tinkerbell during the dance party.
I also love as well that the great fairy godmother fight. Again, it's a really small moment, but it's just the line gets me, and it's where she's firing the magic at them and they're attacking her. And the three blind mice attacking. I love that three blind mice have a German accent as a nod to the Brothers Grimm. Oh no, Lucas has spotted something.
I was just going through and it came with the other spin-off that was between Shrek 3 and 4, Shrek the Halls.
Okay. Oh, there's a lot of gingerbread at Christmas.
The Halls,
oh no.
Gingy attends Christmas at Shrek's house with the fairy tale creatures. He hits on a gingerbread angel saying, "Did you hurt yourself when you fell out of heaven?" Fair play, Gingy.
Good line. The classic.
During the party, he vomits a chocolate chip in front of Shrek. Donkey then eats the chip. Later, the gang tells various Christmas stories, and Ginger chimes in with a traumatic story of his past. He reveals that he's afraid of Santa Claus because he ate his girlfriend Susie. Though no one believes him, he claims you weren't there when Donkey tries to call him out.
Yeah, because Santa does traditionally eat like cookies, and gingerbread cookies are a thing people leave out on Christmas night.
In the ending, Shrek and the gang go outside and see Santa riding in his sleigh. Gingy runs back inside, screaming, and slams the door. So, Gingy watched his girlfriend get eaten alive by Santa.
And here's the thing as well: when you establish a universe like that, you've got to be vegetarian, right?
Dear God. I didn't know that was the law.
That's the backstory. And the thing is, though, how wild do these Shrek spin-offs get? What the fuck?
Santa ate his girlfriend alive. Poor Gingy.
He's a villain. Santa the villain.
I was like, I'll check what Shrek the Hall says, because, Christmas...
Yeah, so you were just reading ahead while I was telling you the thing, and I just saw you go, no.
Oh, no. Oh. So apparently, yeah. Santa Claus, just the cannibal in this universe, because that is a sentient being. Well, maybe not not a cannibal, because he's not eating another human or another Santa or whatever race Santa Claus is in that film. But yeah, he was willing to eat a gingerbread man alive. He is for Gingy when he has to watch it happen in real time. So yeah. That is the last thing I've got to note on Gingy, because that was terrifyingly brutal. And I think that also is a good place to end, because Karl seems to have frozen. So hopefully Karl's audio is all okay, and maybe his PC has shut down. Maybe it's just his camera frozen. I'm not sure. But Robot Karl's coming in. He's coming back from the death. Oh, everything's going wrong, everyone. I'm sorry.
Yes, you've gone all robotic.
So Robot Karl wishes everyone a happy holidays, as do I. And I guess we can just leave it there. And I hope everyone has, a lovely holiday, whichever one you celebrate. And hope everyone has a lovely New Year's too. Thank you, everyone.
I will just say cheers to everybody for listening. And hopefully Luke still has my audio here. There's been a slight issue on the recording end, but if I am still in the audio now, I'll say thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you all next year.